Welcome to Kinda a Big Deal, a weekly podcast deep diving into the lives of emerging and established tattoo artists. Listen in as we dig into origin stories, industry hot topics, and what it takes to survive in the world of tattooing. This is Tattoo Shop Talk. Join your hosts Shawn, Hedley, and Dave Allen every week as we host a new guest.
It's no secret Dave and I have a good guy connection, but we have a great relationship with many respected suppliers. Working with Lucas Ford at Classic Tattoo, I saw firsthand the blood, sweat, and stress he went through building Good Guy. Creating products for your peers is no easy task. With many to critique any small missteps, including myself, tattooer owned and family operated since day one. With Lucas, Rob, and Natalie at the helm, you know exactly what you are getting. High quality products, fair prices, and excellent customer service. Shop, support, Good Guy. Riverside, I'm just looking into that. We can do like live phone calls.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'll switch over once I'm done all this shit on this platform, because I don't know if I lose stuff or whatever. But anyways, and then we'll just do like a test run. And then I was thinking, like, there's sometimes where we could text somebody and be like, hey, we're interviewing so-and-so. If you got time, call in.
Yeah, totally. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Did you see who, I already told you, right? Loose Lips shared our story. That was crazy.
Yeah, totally.
So,
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Marcus felt pretty bad. I texted from a little bit afterwards, and he was like, I told him what you said about the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and he laughed. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but my cheap ass self is thinking like the one lower. I'm like, man, I have an iPhone 12, and the only reason why I even have this is because Julia gave it to me. And he's like, that's how I got mine 7 years ago. My kind of girlfriend gave me my first smartphone. So he's been on a landline the whole time. Yeah. And then he's got this iPhone given to him, and then he's never upgraded it since. So,
whatever.
Yeah. And no computer, no nothing. It's like he lives a life or something.
I wish. If I didn't, I run my business off my phone. Like, everything I do is off the phone. So
I know.
I don't use, like, I could probably get away without a laptop.
But like, how's he making art if he doesn't have like?
No, it's got to be impossible. He must be doing he must be sculpting everything and taking photos with film or something. Surely he has a digital camera.
I doubt it, seeing that he doesn't even post pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get that back on the books ASAP. So, and then of course this is a re-recording of lost footage with Jon.
This is our first cover.
Yeah. We originally lost a lot of footage, so I have all the audio from the original, but I don't have the video. And the audio I have is like the secondary audio, so it's not the highest of quality. So what I'm going to do is we'll do this interview, and then I'm going to add that audio on, just tack it on to the end. So if people want to keep listening to it, there might be stuff in there that we might not cover again or whatever. So why it just throw it on there, So
it'll probably be a lot of the same stuff because my memory is fucking horrible. Like I can tell you, he could talk and tell all the same stories, and I'll probably be like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's crazy."
Yeah, I thought about re-listening to it, and then I was like, nah, just let it be organic, right? It's like how I found Marcus's email was on a podcast he did, and I started listening to that podcast, and I was like, no, if he's actually willing to do an interview with us, I want to go in blind.
Yeah, I think you run the risk of, if you know too much of the story, that we would run over it like quickly. and people listening might not have that information. So it's just
which we did a lot of in the beginning, because in the beginning we were interviewing people that we knew very well, right? And like learning how to interview people, but we were not doing a great job because everything's inside jokes and we already know shit. So we're not touching on stuff. So it's been good. It's been fun. So, but yeah, so we'll figure that one out, and then that's it. How's the preparation for the art show going? Tell everybody about this art show.
Oh, yeah, the art show is March 2nd, Vancouver at the Casco Gallery, the Year of the Dragon art show and auction. We've got almost 70 artists. Every day I have to turn people down that are asking to be a part of it, which is pretty impressive. The attending list or the committed to producing art list is pretty incredible. I just saw Aaron Hill's fucking painting. Every time I get a picture of someone's painting, I'm just like, oh my God. Like I was committing not to buy any paintings, and now there's 4 on my list.
Dude, never mind the painting. Look at that sculpture that Tex fucking posted.
Yeah, of course. What do you think Steve's going to do? Steve Moore.
Right. Yeah, but James Tex, I thought I'd give my shot at first time sculpting.
Yeah. Could have been better, James. I expected more.
Yeah.
No, the art show, it's turning out to be fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun. Clint Danroth's going to give a talk on finger waves and water on the Sunday. And we've got some other people lined up we were going to do like a town hall kind of thing, but I think I'm going to change it to just a drawing, like collaborative drawing thing, set up some tables, get some charcoal, and get people drawing together and just chatting about process and stuff, and just make it kind of like the podcast, more organic and less structured, and just a good time. And
cool.
Try to organize some dinners and lunches and stuff, and just have a good time.
Sweet.
Yeah, the auction will be online. The art show will hang in Vancouver for a month at the gallery, and do
you know where do you know where Casca is off the top of your head?
Casco Gallery is on Clark, I think, right at Pender.
Okay.
Really close to Hastings, in between Hastings and Venables.
Cool. And you can find everybody. You can find links to this stuff on the Kind of Big Deal podcast IG, Holdfast Social Club IG, Dragon _art_ show is the IG, I believe, for the art show. Yep. So yeah, everybody can check it out and then buy some art.
Opening night's going to be fun. There's going to be booze. There's going to be lots of people. It'll be a good time. And it's in Vancouver in the spring, so sort of their spring. Not Edmonton spring or Kelowna spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fuck, it's been colder in Vancouver.
Fuck, we've
had a really bad one, but
we had a lot of snow the last little while. It's been
Same.
-25. It's raining today.
Yeah.
Rain today.
So we're supposed to be a +9 by the weekend.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah. Amazing. All right. Well, as usual, this podcast is brought to you by Good Guy Supply and Holdfast Social Club. And we're going to just send the invite out now to our Jon Clue and get him on here and hopefully not fuck up this time. All right, guys. Be right back.
Peace.
The Holdfast Social Club keeps expanding and adding features to make the life of tattooers easier. We just launched a classified section for pros only. Sell your tattoo gear, prints, whatever, in one spot. This is on top of a platform with peer-to-peer vouching, direct connect, a wait list, and geo-searching. Now you can find guest spots or forever homes at studios everywhere. No guessing, no awkward conversations. See what shops or artists have to offer. Mark them as favorites or add yourself to their wait list to let them know you are interested. Holdfast Social Club keeps adding features to make connecting easy. Pros only, a place where the best of us can elevate each other.
Nice to see you guys again.
Good to see you again. All right, I'm going to just check.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's Jon Clue. It's fucking amazing. This is so cool.
Is there a way?
I feel like I just met you just not too long ago. This is.
Hey, John, is there a way I can get you just to tilt your camera down a bit?
Let's see.
Or get you up higher?
I could probably raise this chair.
Oh, you were good. You were good right there.
Is that good?
Well, no, Dave. I actually have the true
Okay.
screen on my side. So if you could be a little higher, or it's gonna be this.
Hang on. Maybe not a little higher, but maybe a little taller.
I think this might be as high as this chair goes. Let me lower this stand a little bit.
All right.
I just don't want to tilt it forward too much because then it starts dipping.
Yeah, no worries. I just don't want to fuck this up again.
Yeah.
I want this to be good.
You get that like high perspective of your phone against you, and it really slims you out.
That's perfect.
All right.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh.
This damn thing.
And action.
Technical difficulties. Oh, it's sliding. Yep.
Oh, bitch, this thing's horrible. Why can't they make a stand that works?
A laptop works really well.
There, perfect.
Let's see how long that holds for.
Yeah, that's all right. We had our buddy Piot, when we had him on, he decided that he was going to sit outside on his deck while people were doing construction next door, and he was just literally leaning his phone against a mason jar of water, and it just kept falling.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
You know,
Yeah,
I thought in this I was prepared, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man. So it's awesome because on my end, I can see your upload happening, and it's happening good, unlike last time. So perfect, man. Thanks so much again for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me on, man.
So I'm gonna
talk about tattooing.
Yeah. Just so me and Dave kind of touched on it. We just did like a little pre-record intro. Like we ended up losing the video, the good audio and video from our last time we recorded.
The beginning or the end?
I think the end. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I didn't end up even processing the bit it had. But so what happens is right now, while the three of us are on here, my screen is recording this part of it. But it's not high quality at all. So I actually have all the audio from our original interview.
Gotcha.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to just send me I'll get you to email me some photos. And after this one, I'm just going to add just the audio and just kind of do like a quick little carousel of like your work and stuff. Because I don't want to throw away that last one. Even if we talk
conversation.
Yeah.
I know.
And even if we
talk
about
that no matter what, even if you ask me the exact same stuff,
yeah,
it's completely different dialogue.
Well, I was telling Shawn earlier, when we do any interview we do, even if I watch a fucking movie, when it's over, it's gone. Like it's just gone. It's
right. I'm definitely one of those in the moment kind of people.
Yeah. So this will be all new to me again.
Yeah.
Wait, who are you guys? Where am I?
Yeah, well, it's when we had you on first time, it was you're kind of a big deal podcast. Now you're on a new podcast, kind of a big deal.
Kind of.
You used to be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, we'll just get into it, John, because we already know a bit of your story, the little bits that our old man brains remember. But let's get into who you are and where you got your start.
My name's Jon Clue. I started tattooing in Long Island, New York in 1993 at a shop called Tattoo Lou's Artistic Tattoo of Selden.
That's a long-ass title for a tattoo shop. How did they fit that all on the side?
on the fucking business card.
It's like a Robert Williams painting where it's got two titles. Awesome.
It was one of about 5 tattoo shops in Long Island at the time, while tattooing in New York City was still illegal.
Oh, crazy! And how did you end up there? Like, what was your route into that shop?
Randomly, by chance, I had gotten tattooed there. I think when I was about 16. I had some friends that got tattooed. And they came back and they were talking about how much it hurt. And I had already been tattooed. I was kind of fortunate, I guess, in that my dad let me get a real tattoo when I was 15 for my birthday in Arizona. That's another story. So my friend was complaining about how much it hurt, and I was like, "What are you talking about, man? I spent like 6 hours getting my shoulder tattooed. It was nothing." He's like, "Yeah, well, if you can sit through it and not make a face or say anything," he's like, "I'll pay for it." I was like, "Let's go." So we went there. I got tattooed. So I knew of the shop. It was one of the more well-known shops at the time out in Long Island. And I was still living in Brooklyn, but I had a girlfriend at the time that lived in Long Island. Her and her sister picked me up from the train station one day when I went out to visit, and I had my sketchbook in my backpack. And when they picked me up, we went for lunch, randomly right next to the tattoo shop. After we ate lunch, I went in. I was like, "Hey, I want to go in there and see if I can get a job." So I went in there, showed them my drawings, which was mostly just like Dungeons and Dragons kind of stuff, skulls and dragons and wizard faces and stuff. And they were impressed enough to say, "Yeah, man, we actually are looking for somebody, and we like that you're young, and hopefully we could do something." But at the time, I didn't have a car, so I had no way of getting back there. So I told them that. And they were like, "Okay, well, get a car." So I did. I hustled. Got myself a 1980 Mercury Capri.
Sweet.
Yep.
That's a big boat.
Oh, it's the same thing. It's the same chassis as a Fox Body Mustang, but it has,
Yeah, I was going to say it's the smaller one, yeah.
wider fenders, so it's kind of like a wide kit on a Fox Body.
Yeah.
So I called them. About a month later, I was like, "Hey, this is that kid from Brooklyn. I don't know if you remember me." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, sure, man. Come on in." So I drove my ass out to Long Island. It's a 2-hour trek. And it was it. Every day. Days a week.
You were driving there every day. You're commuting 4 hours.
Stop, last one out.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
That's crazy. I can only imagine what the traffic would have been like driving across New York and Long Island.
Luckily, at the times of day, it was relatively traffic-free. Wasn't really that bad.
Nice.
But it was still a haul,
Yeah. Who was working there?
That piece of junk car didn't last very long. It lasted long enough to where I was making money, and I ended up getting myself a better car. Moved to Long Island.
Made it a little easier for you.
Yeah, it was a great start, man. It really was.
And who was working in that shop with you? Like, who was leading your apprenticeship?
His name was Lou Rubino. He had been tattooing since '58. He came up with Brooklyn Blackie and Philadelphia Eddie in Coney Island, and worked in the Bowery.
Wow.
He's featured in an old book that
Mike McCabe book?
Yeah, the New York Tattooist or something like that, I believe it's called.
Yeah, it's a great book.
He's got a section in there. It's called Lou the Hammer. That went by back then because he had Paul Kane hammer and he used it.
Oh, fuck.
And there's a picture in that book of him acting like he's tattooing, and it's actually me on the table.
No shit.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, yep.
Sweet.
It wasn't long after he tattooed my ribs, which I thought I was ready for. Woo, boy.
No doubt.
I fully realized why they called him Lou the Hammer that day.
Yeah, I was called Hammerhead for a different reason. I took a hammer to the head.
Oh, no thanks.
And it didn't phase me, so I became Hammerhead, known as Hammerhead Hedley.
Yeah,
so.
Didn't phase you at all. No lasting no lasting effects.
How long was your apprenticeship?
Oh, it really wasn't long.
Yeah.
I was young and cocky. I came from Brooklyn. I was, heavily immersed in the graffiti world out there, and that kind of comes with a certain attitude.
Yeah.
And I was in the shop every day doing drawings for the tattoos they had to do. If it was anything custom, I did the drawings. And I was building needles, retipping tubes, all the typical apprentice shop help stuff. Scrubbing tubes, a lot of tubes, because we did a lot of tattoos there. When I started, it was Lou, his son Lou Jr., and this guy Dan Pizzo, who didn't last long after I had started. And I think it was about a month or so after I just got there, and one day I was just like, "Yo, guys, what's up? Like, when do I get to do this? You know, like what's going on? I've been here for a month already, you know." You know, in
About
hindsight, I
time.
think
It's about time.
about that and I laugh, you know, like a month. But him and his son looked at each other and they were just like, "Oh, you think you're ready, kid?" You know, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready. Like, of course. Like, what do you think I'm doing here?" So they were like, "All right, well, why don't you call one of your friends and let's see what you can do." So I got on the phone. I was like, "Yo, cuz." I was like, "I've been tattooing all summer at the shop. They, you know, it's slow today. They said I could tattoo you for free if you want to come in." So he was just like, "Oh, really?" And he came in and I got him in the chair and shaved his leg, I drew on with a big pen like a pot leaf with some tribal going around it.
Nice.
We got right to it. I made that first couple wipes and that drawing was gone, but he wasn't looking at it. He was just, you know, looking around at the shop. I just kept going. That was it. Yeah,
Unreal.
picture of that tattoo a couple years ago. He still has it. You know, the black is solid as hell, but those single needle lines that I made,
Oh,
because that's what we used every day, a single needle and a 7 everything. Luckily, we get out. You know, I started off with Magnum instead of flat strips, but yeah, man, everything was done with a single needle, and I was trying to do like this bold graffiti looking stuff with a single. So
oh my God.
Damn.
yeah, I was like, you know, going over those lines like times, cutting the shit out of people.
Would have been better off using a 7 mag to line.
Probably. Oh yeah, but you know,
Holy
like
fuck.
they would talk about bigger liners, like oh god, that's a thing of the past. You can't use no 14, you know, like that. They just destroy somebody's skin. I think back now, and I'm like, I probably would have been a little better off than what I was doing with that damn. And, you know, back then, '93, we were reusing them. You know, of course, we'd autoclave them,
Yeah.
but we had a sharpening stone right next to where we kept all the needles, and just ran that single, twisted it along the sharpening stone to get a nice point again. Boom, there you go.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That would be horrifying as a first timer, a neophyte tattooer trying to control your depth and floating
Oh,
that single. Like no, there'd be no
especially with,
resistance from the skin.
I was using a brass coastal.
Oh fuck,
Ooh.
heavy as fuck.
Yeah. It was literally like tattooing with a brick and a nail.
Oh my God.
Holy fuck. So how long did you end up tattooing there for?
It was a good year and a half.
Yeah.
Close to 2 years. And, you know, like I said, I was young and cocky. And honestly, after a year and a half, I outgrew that shop because they didn't want to draw. It wasn't about making art, and that's really what I was seeking, you know.
That was going to be my next question. I was guessing it was probably a flash shop. You had to do what came through the door.
But it was great. You know, I did 10 tattoos a day.
Yeah.
You know, so it was really, really good for getting my chops up. And their expectations of me were different than the expectations I had for myself. I wanted to grow as an artist. I wanted to do stuff like I saw in magazines. You know?
Yeah.
And I just wasn't getting those kind of opportunities there. And, you know, if I wanted to do something cool or fun, it had to be on my day off, which those were far and few between, or after hours. And I still had to pay the shop.
Shit.
So if I wanted to tattoo my friends, they had to pay what the shop thought was a fair percentage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was tough. But there was another new shop that opened up not that far away, and that was called Lotus Tattoo. It was owned by Civ, and another guy named Tom Butler. Hang on, I gotta plug my phone in. Sorry.
No worries. Civarelli,
Yeah,
famed
man.
Grit,
Yep.
the famed Gorilla Biscuit singer, and then of course went on to be Civ, and yeah.
Yeah, I was, I grew up going to those shows back then.
Yeah. Walter going on and starting Quicksand, and
oh yeah, I grew up with Tom Capone from Quicksand. He's one of my close friends
wow.
since I was about
Right.
12. So I've known all those guys for a long time.
Actually,
And,
I have a quick question before we continue on with the tattooing, because I saw a post of yours, that dude from Impractical Jokers.
yeah.
What? Are you like old friends with that guy or something?
I wouldn't say we're old friends, but we met it back home in New York, and
Okay.
a live thing, and they just wanted somebody to promote it, so they hit me up. And
Okay, yeah. Hilarious.
You're
That
gonna
was just
explain what's going on here.
so. Impractical Jokers is like one of the kind of first kind of prank shows.
Yeah.
They were like,
too.
yeah, it was hilarious. Like, actually, Julia got me really into it, and all their shit's on YouTube now. But yeah, there's like 4 homies, and they just do the most fucked up shit. They make each other like they'll be working like a reception, and then they'll have to like the reception's full, like it's a doctor's office or a job employment thing, and then they have to call out the most ridiculous names. Like it's it's like so and so here, but like the most ridiculous names, and they're not allowed to laugh.
Hysterical.
Every time they laugh, they lose a point, right? And it's just but yeah. Anyways, Impractical Joke. I saw that and was just like, hey, all right. Back to the good stuff though.
Before we get off that topic real quick, they actually came into one of the shops I worked at in Manhattan in one of the first episodes or first seasons that they did.
No
where
way.
they get tattooed. And one of them had gotten the Jaden Smith tattoo from my friend Needles. And I forgot who tattooed the other one, but I was there when that happened too, and that's where I met them.
Oh, hilarious. That's amazing. Yeah,
that was
pretty funny.
In Manhattan.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to get to that because I don't think we talked about that shop the last time.
Probably not.
I think we somehow just skipped right over Manhattan.
That was a good stretch for me there. I did about 5 years there.
All right.
That was a really good shop, and I had history with that shop because I had gotten tattooed there way before, I'd say probably in 94, I got tattooed by Bernie Luther there when it was still underground.
Oh, wow. Wild.
Yeah.
All right, so you moved on over to Lotus.
Yes, and Joe Capobianco was there. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go work there, because he was also this young, up-and-coming guy, and he was doing really nice stuff. That guy could draw his ass off back then.
Yeah.
But still to this day, obviously. But, he was really doing his thing. He had, getting a lot of recognition. And I learned a lot watching him draw. So that was a real opportunity for me. And the owner, Civ, was barely ever there because he was on tour doing Civ.
Yeah.
Like solo thing for most of that time. But Tom Butler, who was his partner, he was just one of the most understanding people. And he was like, you do what you got to do. You want to tattoo your friends, go right ahead. You want to do something to put in your portfolio, go right ahead. He was all about it, So he was really one of my favorite people that I ever worked for. He was just such an understanding person and really all about just letting us do our thing, spreading our wings, and he never tried to hold us back in any way, shape, or form. And that was really new, because what I came up in was completely the opposite. And it was exactly what I needed when I needed it. So it really turned out well.
Is Tom still tattooing?
No, Tom stopped tattooing a while back. He also worked for the post office. And that was a good paying gig for him. He had a family.
Say that guy's got a nice pension.
Yeah. He had the shop, and he just loved tattoos, Even when he was there tattooing, he didn't tattoo often. He let us do everything. He also introduced me to work that I'd never seen before. He had some really old work from Eddie Deutsch when Eddie used to come to Long Island to tattoo. And that was mind-blowing. That was the first time I had seen, like, really badass tattoos in person, And that was something to strive for as well.
Yeah, that West Coast style was so incredible. Like, just the fusion of the Asian stuff with the traditional American color palette and style.
Yeah. Well, when you were seeing that work, was Eddie on the West Coast or was he still in Michigan?
Oh no, he must have been in San Francisco back then.
Okay.
It's hard to remember exactly where he was.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, because if you started in 93 and then Lotus would have been around 95, yeah, he would have already been West Coast, so.
Pretty sure he was, I don't know what shop it was, so that sucks that I can't remember. That's something I feel like I should,
Well, I believe, when we talk to him, I'll be able to figure out the whole timeline, but I think he had Sacramento Tattoo.
What it was back then?
He had Sacramento Tattoo because then Scott McEwen went to go and work for Sacramento Tattoo with Lance. I forget Lance's last name because Eddie then went to Tattoo City and was there full time.
Yeah, actually, I think that's where he was when I first started seeing his work was at Tattoo City.
Yeah.
But that rings a bell.
Yeah, so good. So how long were you at Lotus for?
Probably another year and a half. Something like that, year-ish. It wasn't that long, but I was going to a bunch of conventions. I had a girlfriend at the time who I had tattooed a whole bunch. And she would come to conventions with me, and she was pretty, so she got noticed by the magazine photographers. And it was at Mad Hatter's Tea Party up in Maine that... one of the editors for Tattoo magazine approached me, and they were like, "Oh, we really like the stuff you're doing." And I was going around and showing my portfolio as much as I can to people back then, And they approached me to do a feature article, and that happened, and that really just kicked everything into high gear. From Lotus, I wanted to get out of New York. I never, I grew up in New York. I lived in the city, but it wasn't really my favorite place to be. It's always very chaotic, and it's not really who I am. And I got in touch with Ken Cameron in South Beach, Miami, and he took me on. I went to South Beach, worked with him for a while. I learned how to mix pigments with him, and got to do some really cool tattoos. It was another super busy street shop. And I had written a letter to Dennis Dwyer, who was running the tattoo tour conventions back then. And the first Miami Beach tattoo tour convention was happening, I guess that was 96. So I wrote him a letter, sent him some actual photographs of the work that I was doing, told him about the article that I was just in, and he gave me a booth.
Cool.
That was the first convention that I worked at. It was during my stay at Ken Cameron's shop. I was supposed to stay at Ken's for about a year, but at that convention I had met so many people, and from that article I had all these people coming up to me that wanted to get work. They're all inviting me to guest spots at their shop. And I was just like, I think I was 22. Fuck yeah, let's go, man. I want to do this. Let's travel. So I went to all these different tattoo shops, worked as a guest, and I ended up not too far from South Beach in Fort Myers for a little while. I met this guy, Shawn Zacco. He goes by Shawn Z. He works in North Carolina now. He was originally from New Jersey. And him and another friend, Jim Faracco, that they opened up a studio in Fort Myers called Pleasures of the Flesh. And it just seemed like a fun place to go. So I went there, tattooed there. But I was kind of home base there because at this point I was doing all these guest spots all over the place. And also getting my back tattooed by a guy Aitchison. And one day I got a phone call from, it was a guy on the phone, and we were talking about booking some appointments for my next session on my back. And he's like, next time you come up, why don't you consider bringing your tattoo stuff? We'd love to have you here as a guest. I'm moving to Southern Illinois to, live in this new house, and I'm going to be leaving Chicago. And we're looking for somebody to replace me, basically. And I was just like, okay. He's like, so come on, book yourself up. We'll help you out. And, we'll see how it goes. And if everything works out, you might have a permanent place here if you're interested. I was like, I think I'm interested.
I want to, before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, I want to ask you about doing guest spots so early in your career and the value or what value you derive from that. Like what?
Those were the days, man. Like I go do a guest spot, and basically I tattoo everybody that worked at the shop, and usually the shop owners would let me keep all the money that I made, and usually I would just tattoo them for free or something like that. And I did a bunch, man. I was doing like a guest spot at least once or twice a month, like a 5-day stretch, various places, and I really got to do the stuff that I wanted to do.
Rad.
Draw my ass off, and that's how I built my portfolio and the foundation of work that I was doing back then. That I guess for what I'm known for doing, or at least what I was doing back then.
Yeah,
and the opportunity was just incredible.
Yeah. Were you showing up with a lot of like pre-drawn kind of flash?
No,
for these people to choose from, or are you just doing straight custom for everybody?
Yeah, just mostly freehand, or I draw it on paper first.
Yeah.
And usually it would consist of, hey, I got this spot on my forearm. I've got $800. Do whatever, do that thing that you do.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
The dream.
I was just like, let's do it. I'd get to draw and come up with something. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, I could have spent about another day on that drawing before I started the tattoo. But it was that energy, it was like the energy of being in that whirlwind that just, I wasn't thinking about it. I was just doing what my hands and my brain needed to do, and I was making some of the coolest images that I've ever made back then, And I think a lot of it has to do with that spontaneous energy, which I still really enjoy.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, like, young people nowadays, I'm not sure if they get the same opportunity to guest spot like that. Like that's, going and do a guest spot is something, but what you were doing was immersing yourself in that lifestyle of it. And
I see people that do guest spots now, and they basically invite themselves and they bring their own people. It's like, well, you're just a part-time employee. You're not really a guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think you miss out on a lot by just showing up and being like figuring out what happens as you get there. Yeah, it was fun, man. It was all by the seat of my pants. There was one shop I showed up to. They invited me, told me there was a place to stay in the shop and everything. I showed up. There was a guy working on a Harley barefoot in the middle of the shop in the waiting room, and there was another guy tattooing barefoot, and then there was a little chihuahua pooping in the corner. That was wild. So they showed me the room where, I was welcome to stay in, and, my old girlfriend was traveling with me at the time. We went up there, checked it out, and we're just like, yep, cool. Hey, we're going to go back to my car and get my stuff. We got back to the car, looked at each other, and we're like, hey, let's keep it moving. That guest spot did not happen. Yeah. Oh my God. What shop was that?
I don't remember. It was called Bad Dog Productions, and it was in Orlando.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't remember who worked there, but that was a pretty interesting situation and one that I did not need to fully experience.
That's awesome. A different time.
Yeah, different times.
Yeah. Here's your dirty cot in the closet.
There was a carpeted floor in the waiting room, which was something I was like,
Oh, fuck.
wow, that's crazy. Even back then, I was like, this ain't right.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of DNA in that carpet.
you
Hey,
hate
man.
it. Of
I
all
used to,
sorts, too.
yeah, I used to smoke with my gloves on, and I'd have fucking like ink on my lip and everything. But even if I fucking saw a dog shitting in the corner of the shop, I'd be like, "That's not okay."
That's where we draw lines, right?
I actually just found a picture of me the other day tattooing a really old friend, Steve Simons, in like probably oh, there we go. All right, yeah, I just found a picture of me tattooing a really old friend of mine in probably '93 back in Toronto, and yeah, right there, it's like fucking ashtray with a cigarette burning in it.
Yep.
No clipcord sleeve, no wrap on the bottle bag, paper towel just taped to the desk. You know, it's just like, just.
I don't think we
I'm
used
just looking at
dental
that. I'm
bibs
like,
to cover the
holy
station.
fuck! I can't believe that's how we used to work.
I used a big green soap spray bottle. That never got covered.
Yeah, just like.
And you know, I started using a straight razor blade to shave everybody. I'd pull that thing out, and people were just like, "Oh wow, this is real." But I was good at it, man. I never cut anybody with it. You know, you just got to learn how to glide it over the skin, and it's actually a really good tool. But you'd have to change the damn blade every time. You know, at least a bucket blade.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not sure what happened, John, but when we lost you there for a second and came back, your audio's become like really crackly.
I just got a phone call that I shut off. I don't know how to.
You know what? I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to send you a new link for you to rejoin us. I just don't want to make sure that anything
happened here.
I don't know, but your audio's great.
Yep.
And you're perfectly in the screen now.
All I see is the top of my head.
Oh, I can see you all. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You look good.
Awesome. Yeah.
All I can see is my eyes, basically.
That's how parts of your last video were. The little bit that I do have it was just your eyes. So, like, yeah, we can't use that. Yeah.
I don't know what happened there with the sound, but
no worries. No, it sounds good now, man. It's great. And I already forgot where we left. Oh yeah, so going to Guilty and you were talking about Orlando.
Yeah, Bad Dog Productions and the fiasco. But it wasn't long after, like I said, a guy had called and gave me some news that he was leaving and they wanted me to do a guest spot there. So that happened and I booked myself up solid that whole time I was there. And the last day I walked into the shop and everybody that worked there was sitting on the couch in the waiting room, and they were like, "Hey, we'd really like for you to work here."
Oh, rad!
Wow, crazy. Okay, let's do it.
So who was on the couch?
It was Guy, Kim Say, Mike Leatherman, who was a piercer, and he was a real good friend of Guy's, and our shop receptionist, Jay Bondelli, who was one of the best shop staff that I ever worked with. It was a really, really small, little hole-in-the-wall place with no sign. It wasn't allowed to be advertised as a tattoo shop because of the zoning. But it was just a magical little capsule of art that happened in that time period. And it still blows me away that I had the opportunity to do my thing there.
Right. So how long were you at Guilty and Innocent for?
It lasted 1 year. After a year, because Guy left the shop to Kim. Kim decided after a year that she just hated owning a shop. It wasn't, for her. She just wanted to. She had a good schedule, great clientele, and ended up just working privately for a while after that, and so did I. I just worked literally out of my apartment for another 3 years, home base there, And that's when I was doing every convention that happened during that time period. I left Chicago New Year's Eve, 1999, going into 2000. When the ball dropped, I crossed over into New Jersey, and I stayed there for a whole winter, just on a small little house in a hill. Also, just home base there. I was working with a buddy who we were talking about opening a shop, but that never panned out. And from there, I went back to Fort Myers. I had sold a bunch of paintings to the owner of that shop, and he basically paid my rent for 6 months. So I stayed in
Wow.
Fort Myers, didn't really have any bills, and next to his tattoo studio, he had a big photography studio that he utilized, and he gave me free reign to the studio, so I really immersed myself in painting, and that's where I learned how to paint.
Right.
Cool.
I've been making oil paintings before that, but this was my opportunity to really hone my skills with that. I was painting basically every day. I made some of the best paintings that I've ever made back then. Um,
This might be a good time to ask you about your style. You said when you got into tattooing, you were a graffiti kid, basically, and people listening may or may not know what kind of style tattoos you do, but there is an interesting crossover between graffiti and organic. Uh,
yeah,
stuff.
especially with the biomech stuff, which I was already way into Giger before I started tattooing. I was really into psychedelic kind of art and abstract sort of look, especially, like graffiti, the letters, the structure, and how you stylize the letters really is similar to biomech, and seeing what Guy was doing with it, and Aaron Kane at the time, even Eddie Deutsch was doing some really cool biomech stuff. And that's what I was drawn to, it seemed to flow and move in ways that I was familiar with by doing graffiti stuff. And, I was a space kid. I was into Star Wars, and it just kind of, I didn't really try to have a style, I was just doing what my hands did. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. I didn't go to art school. I didn't really have any formal art training. I dropped out of high school in 10th grade, and I just stayed true to my own inner vision, and
Paid off.
that's what
Yeah.
became my style, It's just what my hands do. It's not something, I can fight it if I want to, but then it's never, I can tell, like anytime I do something that doesn't really look like what I do, it's not me, So I just let my hands do what they want to do. I make my drawings, and I try not to really think about it too much, put, too much effort into the look of it, I just refine it until it flows and it looks like what I think it should.
When you're sitting down to do, like you're saying, like you're going to do 6 months of painting kind of thing, what's influencing you? Where are you finding inspiration for subject matter?
Right from my head. I don't, that's one
How does it
thing.
get in your head?
It comes from out there, man. It comes from the universe, and I just let it go. It's hard to explain, but I
If
never
you've never
really,
done DMT or ayahuasca, you will never understand, Dave.
well, I have definitely partook in the DMT experience. The psychedelic thing is something I've also heavily immersed myself in, and I don't. I never really understood the whole artistic block thing. I don't have enough years in my life to ever get out all the images in my head, and everything that I do is really like a gross approximation of what I do see in my head. And every time I sit down to make art, it's just trying to be honest with myself and the vision that I have and what I want the world to see. It's my way of communicating with a way that words just don't say.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just what I do, what I understand, and why I make art. It's just my way of communicating this universal language that I can't find words in the English language that adequately describe what it is that I'm after.
That's
Cool.
incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an elegant way of saying that. That's cool.
That's just me being as honest as I can. It's really how I feel. Pictures
Yeah.
in my head are not even. One day, the last image that my hands create will be the best that I'm able to do, and that's the goal. So everything up until that very last brushstroke is all learning. That's
Damn.
what I'm holding steady with. Everything that I do is learning how to make the next one better.
Are you still getting a lot of artistic freedom with your tattooing?
Not as much as I used to, honestly. It's just a very different world now. A lot of people come in with preconceived images, wherever they found it from.
Yeah.
And I still do my thing with it. I still make it look like my hand did it. But I'm finding that I do a lot more illustrative type stuff that, more or less depicts their vision. And that's fine, because tattooing is still a very commercial art form. It's not, it's not my tattoo, it's theirs. And when I want to just, do my thing, I paint.
Yeah.
I give the people what they want, I do names and quotes and, all kinds of stuff that I hadn't really done before in the past. Outside of my apprenticeship days, but I don't mind. It's everything that I do sharpens my skills. I really pay attention to my lines these days, which is something that I never really had to because I pulled it all off with the shading and the color tricks and all that. And I learned over the years how important those lines really are and what those tattoos are going to look like. Not just 2 years, but 5 years, 10 years, 15, and 20 years down the road, I see some of the old stuff that I did, and I can see what changes I need to make and what adjustments I've had to make.
Yeah, right on.
I look at them and be honest, okay, this is where you went wrong, and this is what you could have did, and I learned that I can't use purple concentrate to accommodate for contrast. It's just not a strong enough pigment. You have to use black.
Yeah. 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 Oh, good old purple concentrate.
Yeah. Bill Fairweather purple concentrate. It looked black.
God damn. Yeah.
Stuff was gold, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. Just getting that liquid in the. Oh, I can feel that shaking. Just that thickness. That was just, yeah. Oh, yeah. Young people will never understand the original Fairweather.
Yeah, man. I remember trying to get them on the phone to make those orders. When you finally got it, like Christmas.
Yeah, yeah.
Big boxes, 8-ounce bottles.
Yeah, the blue concentrate. You put 5 drops of white in it, and it still doesn't change.
Still dark. That was, that's what I used to do. I would just basically order most of the darker colors and then 3 bottles of white, and I'd mix it all up, put it into smaller, 4-ounce bottles.
Yeah.
And I got my ass handed to me. I learned that you can't just cut stuff with white. It doesn't really work as well later on. And now I just use lighter values of a similar color to tint down a bit. I've been using Fusion since they started the company, and it's really good stuff. It works well for me.
Yeah, it's definitely very similar.
Yep.
Almost exactly the same.
It's as close to it as I could remember.
Yeah, for sure. Right on. So, all this jumping around, moving around. You said you ended up back in Manhattan.
Yeah. Talk about that.
I moved back to Brooklyn in 2008. 8. I was working. Oof, where did I go? I went back to Long Island. Oh, 2002. I opened up a studio in Long Island with one of my old friends. That didn't last. About a year into it, he and I were clashing heads on stuff, and finally I was just like, all right, here, you can have the shop. I'm just going to go back to traveling around. Uh, I went to another shop in Long Island that was closer to the city. Then I went to another shop in Long Island, and I lost my license street racing, which is another thing that I really was so interested in.
I'm really passionate about street racing.
Yeah, that's my guilty pleasure.
Fast and Furious.
Racing them.
I always win because the guy beside me doesn't know he's in a race.
Oh,
Never knew
yeah.
a Dodge Caliber would be so fast.
So I lost my license and I couldn't drive. And in Long Island, you have to drive, you know.
Yeah.
I lasted a couple of months by bumming rides from friends to work and stuff, but that just was too much of a pain in the ass. So I said, you know what? Let's go back home, back to Brooklyn. It's legal now, you know. And at the time in 2008, tattooing was doing really well. So I went back to Brooklyn, worked in a really unique situation for a little while. It was basically a really bougie, high-end hair salon downstairs in Williamsburg, and there was just an empty space upstairs that she rented to me, and I tattooed all my clients there. But then she wanted to lock me in with this crazy contract. I was like, nope.
See ya.
I went back to my apartment, tattooed in my kitchen for another year or so, and finally decided to, I miss people, you know, I wanted to work with tattooers again. So I went to Eastside Inc., who I had, some history with, even though it was completely different people in there, but the name was still very resonant with me. And they were very happy to have me there. It lasted about 5 years. From there, I went to Sacred Tattoo, which is also in Manhattan, Lower East Side. That went really good. I lasted about 2 years there. And then I had some friends that were working at Daredevil, one of which who I really missed working with. And she was like, hey, Daredevil's fun. You should come work here. You'll have a blast.
Who is that?
Her name's Lara Scotton. I worked with her at Eastside Inc. for most of the time there, and
Okay.
we're still really good friends. Definitely one of my favorite people that I ever worked with. She's just ridiculously hysterical to sit next to, and she does damn good tattoos, man. So she convinced me to go to Daredevil. And I was like, everybody there just does traditional. You think I'm gonna fit in? I met Michelle, and she's one of my favorite people that I ever worked for. That woman hustles.
Is that Michelle Myers?
Miles.
Miles. Yeah, Michelle Miles. Yeah.
Yep, she is awesome, man. Definitely one of the coolest people that I had the opportunity to work with. And she also just let me do my thing.
Cool.
Everybody there was happy to have me there, that I did something a little bit different than what they did. And
No competition.
I was in love with just watching how clean all the work that they were doing was, and really envious of how simple they could make a drawing but still have the same impact, And it really got me thinking about restructuring a bit what I do, really making them good tattoos and not just these artistic statements, that are more or less like monuments to my own ego. And that was something I wanted to let go of a bit.
That's pretty cool. Like, you'd been tattooing at that point 15 years.
20 years at that point.
20 years, right, at that point. So, for you to go into that environment and be like, and influenced, essentially,
Yeah,
kind of like
I really was.
insightful influence. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, there's a guy that worked there at the time, Diego Menino. Man, that guy's badass. He can draw his ass off, and he can basically do anything, but he simplifies it in a way that it still has like the traditional kind of look, and it's just a damn good tattoo. And it really influenced the hell out of me. Everybody that worked there is just, simple isn't easy, A lot of people, simple is easy, but no, it's not. Like you can fool everybody with all these tricky colors and different placements of shapes and stuff, but does it always work well as a tattoo? Not always, And I really wanted to make good tattoos. I wanted to be a good tattooer, not just a good artist, which is something that I'm still trying to be. But that really changed things for me a bit. Most of the time that I worked in Manhattan, I was really blown away by what everybody around me was doing because it was so much different, Like I was used to traveling around with Guy and doing conventions and getting to do whatever I wanted. Now I was getting thrown these curveballs with stuff that was not what I was doing, and I wanted to make them count, Like these people deserve the best that I could do. And there were other people who were doing this stuff so well, and I was like, I really need to work on my skills and really hone and refine, and that's what I did.
That's very cool.
Being around for so long and seeing your older stuff come back, did that have any effect on that conversation as well about simplifying things? And
it did, like I said earlier, like I learned that I had to use black. I learned that those lines counted, like you couldn't just sketch in a line and shade off of it, like the line had to be crisp, because if it wasn't, years later you could see where that line wasn't solid. See that there was differences in the depth of the needle as you made that line. Like it doesn't look like it when you first do it, but 5-10 years down the road, you see it. There's little skips, and some areas are a little blown out than others, and making those color lines. Color spreads so much faster than black, especially if you use like a more carbon-based black than a pigment black. Like I use Talons. I've been using it almost since the beginning, and I love what it does. So that's with.
Yeah, that's always been kind of that, like, that argument in the community. Art, craft, technical ability, art, like what is more important? And I think
all equal.
It's all equal, right? It's like if you want to, if you don't want to do traditional tattoos, you want to do your art, great. You need to still have like those fundamental values. It's like I can't start fucking oil painting without knowing how to use oil paints, right? You can't tattoo and apply something without knowing how this stuff is going to age, the process that it goes through, and all these things. Make your art, make your beautiful art, but make it last. Yeah. I think that's the most important thing, and that's really admirable. Like you had a very huge career, and for you to be able to just be like dial that back and see that insightfulness, I think it's super admirable.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just part of my learning process. Like you have to be honest with yourself. You got to look at the stuff and be like, hey, was this a good tattoo? Like it might have looked cool in the magazine, but 10 years later, did it really hold up the way you thought it was going to? Like sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Of course, there's a bunch of variables involved that are out of our control. People people go out in the sun. There's so many different things, But at the end of the day, sound technique is so important. Understanding the medium, its limits, how far you can push those limits and still get good results later on. Yeah, it's a real thing, and it's something that we all have to adhere to. Everybody's going to learn. You're either going to learn and adjust and grow with it, or you just think you're great the whole time. And I've seen that happen too. And some people don't make those adjustments. And I just want to make good tattoos. I want to be the best that I personally can be.
Yeah. Right on. So 7 years in Manhattan. When did you leave Daredevil?
Oh, I left Daredevil right before COVID hit. I stayed at Daredevil for like 3 years. I was super busy there. Michelle was so good to me. But I had met Canadian tattooer Christina Christie, and we were going back and forth to visit each other. I was going to Vancouver at least once a month. She would come to New York, and finally I decided to just go stay in Vancouver with her for a while.
I'd heard rumor of that, but I had never followed up on it.
Yeah, I was there for a good 3 years.
Unreal. I think I must have been hiding at that point.
That girl's a wizard, man. She's so damn good. Like, she can draw, do her ass off. She's good. Yeah, there's a lot, Steve Moore, watching him. That guy Simon, I don't know his last name.
Oh yeah, Simon Data Hell.
That guy, he's another wizard, man. I love his work.
Yeah.
Clint Danroth, I love his stuff too. I met Craig Driscoll and Steve Moore briefly, but I hung out with Craig. He came to my place in Chicago when I was still working there. And I was just like, man, this is damn good stuff, Like, he was really good back then. I had no idea what was really happening in Canada. And then I went there, and I was, like, so impressed with, like, everybody's work ethic, the strength in their work. It's really, really cool to see.
There ain't shit to do up here for a lot of the months of the year, so people just buckle down and work.
Vancouver was different, Like, I had no idea that it didn't get cold there. That's the only reason why I was able to go, because I hate the cold. And, it never really got freezing there, so it rained a lot. And there was a bunch of cars there. There was a NHRA sanctioned drag strip, half an hour from the shop. So I was getting to do my thing out there. And life was good.
Did you have a car out there with you? Were you dragging?
I built a Civic out there that I was taking to the track and having fun with.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Little front wheel drive demon.
That's it, man. I've been doing the front wheel drive drag racing thing since like the 90s.
Cool.
Oh, shit. Fucking OG.
That's one of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
I've
There's a big car community, like just outside of Vancouver, like Langley area and White Rock, and out there. Because you were in Port Moody, right? Did you live in Port Moody?
We lived in Pitt Meadows.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just right beside Maple Ridge and stuff. So
Yep.
Right on.
Christina's
Rob Hope.
What was that?
Did you ever meet Rob Hope when you were out there?
I don't think so. Name doesn't ring a bell.
I think you guys would have got along. He likes racing motorcycles, but and his art's pretty impressive too.
Christina's dad was a career mechanic, and he and I got, like, he was like a brother. I would just go there, hang out with him, and we talk about engines all day. So when COVID happened, the shop got shut down. I had nothing to do, and I wanted to build a car. So I was like, hey, Wayne, would you mind if I pulled the car into the garage for a couple days and did a motor swap? He's like, you think it's only going to take a couple days? I was like, yep, I got this. So he let me use all his tools, and he was blown away that I was able to do it all by myself, put a car together, and then go to the track with it and run some numbers. So, yeah,
nice.
What's your quarter mile best?
10.7.
All right. I was gonna ask if you're under 10, but 10.7. That's good. That's fast.
I could have gone faster, but I had a faster car when I was still in New York, but getting to the track was such a pain in the ass. It was like a 4-hour trek to get to the track. So,
are you driving the car there, or are you trailering it?
I was driving it to the track, racing.
Race there, race back.
Put lots of air in the tire at the line, so I didn't have to worry about breaking anything. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
How long were you in Vancouver for?
It was 3-ish years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
It was a good time.
Where'd you end up after that?
I went back home. I missed home, and the shop that I had opened in 2002, I opened it up with one of my friends that I grew up with. Um, he had gotten really sick, and he couldn't tattoo, and he was worried that he was going to have to close the shop. So I went home to go help him keep the shop open. And while I was there, I was like, man, I miss this. I really needed it. And so I didn't go back to Canada. Luckily enough, Christina and I are still good friends, and she understood what I needed to do. But I did not want to keep that shop. So he couldn't tattoo any longer, unfortunately. He left the shop back to me, and I stayed there for 6 months and was like, I'm not a shop owner. I'm not. I don't want to have to tell adults how they need to do. It's like if you
It's
don't.
exhausting.
Yeah, it is, and it's really a draining part of my creativity to have to maintain other people's lives as well, and I no problem saying that that's not for me. So I moved to Tennessee. I tried living here years ago for a little while. That just didn't work out. It wasn't lucrative enough to pay my bills back then, but I really enjoyed the scenery here, and I decided this is where I wanted to go. So I moved back here in November last year. Now I'm working at a really cool shop called Dancing Goat Tattoo downtown in Chattanooga. I really like the guys that I work with. They're all really good people. The guy that owns the shop is awesome, great tattooer. His name is Duffy McCormick. Really understands what I'm doing and lets me do my thing. Everybody there is excited to work with me, which is really cool. I get to
Nice.
impart a little bit of my insight and, some of my career knowledge. They're all younger, and they all appreciate it. And that's a really good feeling. I'm getting busy now. When I first got here, I had saved a bunch of money and didn't work at a shop or anything. I did a couple of tattoos here at my apartment, but I was painting. I didn't paint for a while when I was in Vancouver, and it was something that I really needed to get back to and explore some of the images that I had in my head before they drove me insane. So I got some of that stuff out of my system, and then it was time to find a shop. There's a bunch of shops local here, but I didn't want to just go and insert myself. I wanted to work somewhere where they actually needed somebody. One day I was scrolling down Instagram and it said artist needed. I looked where it was. It was there in Chattanooga. I was looked up the address, and it happened to be literally in back of my apartment. I had no idea that this shop was there. Not even joking, 30-second walk.
Oh my God. Perfect.
I thought Dave had it easy walking across the street to work. 30 seconds definitely has him beat.
Yeah, you got me beat.
30 seconds. And yeah, it just worked out. They needed somebody. The first day I went in there, I did 4 or 5 tattoos, walk-in stuff, but I was tattooing, making money, and they really helped take care of me. And now I'm busy as hell there. I'm getting to do some cool projects. I got some sleeves in progress, starting a bunch more, and it'll take some time to really get to where I was back home.
Of course.
I could work 7 days a week all year back home, but it's a little different here, a little slower, but it's good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really getting to take my time on my drawings, which is also great, And
Sweet.
I'm happy with the work that I'm putting out.
Good.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what matters at the end of the day, right? When you get to go home, you were stoked on what you got to produce that day.
Yep. Even if I'm not truly exploring my own vision, I'm still making tattoos, and I'm making each one count. Every line is its own separate meditation, and I really enjoy it.
Right on. How big
Yeah.
is Chattanooga? Do you have any idea? I don't even know how big Chattanooga is. Is it a big city of Nashville?
Chattanooga is 2 hours south of Nashville.
Okay.
It's a really old city. Um, it's big in terms of like square mileage, but the downtown city part where I live is tiny.
182,000 people.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just a little bit bigger than where I live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it has small city vibes. There's a bunch of cool little restaurants, a bunch of tattoo shops, and all kinds of shopping type stuff around here. But you know, it's all, like really only just a few blocks.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. The
Nice.
people, you know, everybody's pretty friendly. It's a lot less chaotic than New York City.
Yeah.
Still has some of the benefits of city living without the chaos. You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. As you get
So
older, it's so much
Yeah.
nicer.
Yeah.
You moved around so much. Like
I really did.
your timeline for most shops seemed to be 12 to 18 months. And then
Yeah.
Eastside Inc., you gave 5 years of your life to, which
Yeah.
seems to be the longest. Is Chattanooga going to hopefully be kind of a long-term thing for you?
I'd like for it to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
That's the plan. I don't really want to go anywhere. It's a good location, you know. Like I
Yeah.
can be in like 7 different states within a couple hours driving.
Oh, it's
Cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I want to go back home to New York, it's like a 12-hour drive. Flying out of Chattanooga is a little bit of a pain because it's just a very small little airport and it doesn't have many direct flights to bigger cities.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Cool.
I can't. stand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really
Well,
just want to. Yeah.
Yeah, I have friends that have a jiu-jitsu gym in Nashville, so they keep bugging me to come visit. So if I make it down there, I'll make
Please
it to
do. Yeah,
I'll make it to
for sure.
Chattanooga,
If
and
not, I'll come to Nashville.
we'll definitely go for dinner. So
Yeah.
I've wanted to see Nashville for a long time, and now that my friend Danny and her husband live there, and I just tattooed them, and they're like, "Come visit." I'm like, "All right, maybe I'll make it there."
I know it. That's where Eddie Deutsch is. He's
Yeah,
in there.
Adventure Land, I believe it's called.
Tattoo from him in my collection.
Yeah.
That's to happen probably this year. I just haven't hit him up yet because I'm not 100% ready.
Yeah.
Getting
Tattoos
tattoos.
suck.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I still see he's posting every day, and I still see every day that
he's killing it.
but he also still looks like he's a painful tattooer.
Yeah. But dude, all the stuff that he does, I fucking love it, man.
Yeah.
It's so stripped down, but so good.
Yeah.
That guy really, he's a tattooer.
Yeah.
Hands down,
Yeah.
He is a real deal.
Yeah. Very cool.
Right?
Well, seeing that we hit on that little sequence, let's hit your top 5. Who are your top 5 tattooers?
You can change it from the last time because
It's so hard.
you had a top 5 already.
I've got favorite tattooers from different regions, different time periods, But I'll always have to say, first and foremost, Guy Aitchison, because, I learned so much working with him. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. And, what he does is magic. Then, of course, Marcus Pacheco, another one of my favorites who I'm very, very lucky to have gotten the opportunity to spend some time with him, make some art with him. I've gotten tattooed by him. Aaron Kane, another one, got to spend some time with him. I actually got to collaborate with him on a tattoo years ago.
Cool.
Got tattooed by him a couple times, and another one of my favorite people in the world. Some of the newer tattooers that I've met. Another one, classic, is Bernie Luther. It'd probably be one of my.
Yeah. Not enough people remember that guy.
No.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people remember him, but I mean, he's not one of the names where a younger generation might even learn about, because I don't think many people talk about Bernie.
Yeah, I have a friend, Alexandra Fish. She is an incredible tattooer, really inspiring. Everything that she does, her work ethic is insane. She works so damn much, and she's really refined what she does to a point where it's just damn good.
What's her Instagram?
I was just about to ask.
At Alexandra Fish.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, Fische. And Alexandra as,
Oh, yeah, in Philly.
Yeah. She does really good stuff, man. She's got a cool style, and we've done some cool art together as well.
Cool.
Well, that's a good top 5.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, I could that list all day long, but and if you ask me again tomorrow, I'd probably say some different names, but Guy, Marcus, and Aaron will always be on that list.
That's how I feel. My top 3 will never change, and then the others kind of, rotate out how I'm feeling that day. So. Yeah, for sure. So awesome. Are you working today?
No.
For people that don't know, this is Tuesday.
Yeah, I usually take off Mondays and Tuesdays. I do throw in a Tuesday twice a month usually, just to go when there's nobody there and zone out on a bigger project or something that I'm really looking forward to. So.
Right on. Actually, I'm heading to the shop today. I got to work on a painting, and I've done some moving some art around. So I'm like patching walls and repainting walls and stuff. So
I've got to go mail prints and a painting that I sold.
I got to mail
stupid errands,
Yeah,
I'm bad at that stuff.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much for joining us again, man. Because I was really stoked on the first time that we got to hang out. So I'm really glad that we got to redo this.
Yeah, totally.
I was bummed because I was like, man, I know that was such a good conversation. I want to hear what I had to say.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm gonna I'll DM you. I'll get you to send me some pictures that you want, and then I'll create like a carousel, and I'm gonna add that audio from the last interview to the end of this one so that everybody gets everything and they can listen to what they want.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. I'm gonna hit stop record. I want to make sure everybody's 100% uploaded.
It was great getting to know Curly and this amazing guy that tattooed with one arm. The customer had to stretch his own skin.
So I did get blood poisoning from him twice. Yeah, twice.
Ed Hardy brought this whole Japanese influence into American tattooing.
Once Dave Shore come onto the scene, it was like tattooing completely changed.
If anybody could say anything about greaseball Japanese, it's fucking Dave Shore.
Salty, piratey, bikery, just hard not to do.
Man, he'd pull in on his chopper with the tattoos and the girls, and I mean, he was just like so cool, man.
He captured vulgarity and pleasure and insanity and recklessness.
Tattoo in the 80s or 70s. Just not the same, you had to be a tough guy.
I was scared shitless. Even though I was kind of a biker guy, these were bigger biker guys,
I'm not totally sure you could paint the picture accurately to somebody now getting into tattooing about what it was like then. And the only reason I would say or I feel that way, though, is because they might not believe you.
We had the limo waiting for him with all the lines of blow lined at the airport. This is the way we do it in Canada.
In like 80s, 90s, Paul Jeffries was like the king of tattooing. It wasn't just in Canada.
Like, am I supposed to stop tattooing? Because if this is what I'm supposed to aspire to, it's not going to happen.
Each one of these old masters influenced groups of tattooers who in turn influenced other groups of tattooers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool, man.
And here's this.
Great. Yeah, the big countdown.
Yeah.
I should have done it while he's fucking with the phone.
If we would have started doing that when I was messing with the phone, I would have probably freaked out.
Oh, there it's going. It's going. It's good.
Oh, this is the worst. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Where are you right now, John?
I am at the shop. It's called Dancing Goat Tattoo.
Dancing Goat.
Yep. In lovely Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh.
Maybe that'll help. Oh, that's as high as this one goes. There we go.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. How long have you been in Chattanooga?
Since last November.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Where was home before? Because I don't remember you ever being associated with the South.
No, I'm from New York originally. That's where I started tattooing. I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Started tattooing in Long Island in 93 when tattooing was still illegal in the city.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
What was that shop like? Was it totally underground shop? Like, was it like we?
No, I went to a shop in Long Island where it was actually legal. I just had to drive 2 hours each way.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I know that pain.
Yeah. You know what though? I was still the first one at the shop and the last one out the door every day.
I definitely wasn't.
It was opposite with Shawn.
I was so happy to be tattooing. It was the best thing in the world.
Yeah. I was already tattooing almost 20 years when I was doing a 4-hour commute. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I was just I moved to one city, but worked with a friend.
I wouldn't have did that outside of an apprenticeship.
Yeah. No.
The apprenticeship was worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was learning so much, and the guys were cool, and clientele was nuts. It was so busy because there was, at that time in '93, there was only 5 shops in Long Island.
Holy shit.
Yeah, man. So we got all the people that came from the city that wanted to be tattooed because, there were still shops in the city, but they were just really underground, and you had to know the spot.
Yeah.
And get a referral kind of thing, so people still felt like that was a little sketchy.
Were you getting tattooed in New York at that time, or were you getting tattooed out in Long Island?
I had gotten tattooed way before that. I got tattooed. I actually lived in right outside of Phoenix, Arizona for a little while when I was 15.
Oh, cool.
And I was a punk rock kid from New York City. And I tattooed myself when I was about 14. And I told my stepdad for my birthday that year, I want to get tattooed. And if you don't take me to get a real one, I'm just going to do another one on myself. So he knew I wasn't bullshitting. I'm like, okay.
Unreal.
Yeah,
Nice.
So I got tattooed already in Arizona. I remember it was actually from Jack Rudy Flash. I had no idea who a Jack Rudy was at the time I got tattooed, but I remember seeing the Flash not that long after when I actually started tattooing when I was 19, and it was a big, like dragon bat kind of thing, about this big, and I made the guy change it a little bit and put a skull in his claw.
That's cool.
Was that the one that was in the middle of the sheet with the wings spread and it was so long?
Yeah, he had like a pterodactyl head kind of.
Yeah. I loved tattooing that one, man. Oh yeah.
You got that at 15? How big? How big was that?
It went from literally this, like, past my shoulder onto my deltoid a little bit, past the middle of my back.
Oh my god!
I was a skinny little kid, man. That thing really wasn't that big, but on me it looked big.
You must have been a fucking badass kid. Like, I can imagine going to school and showing all your friends.
I was the man in high school. I was like 9th grade. 8th or 9th grade, and I had this big dragon bat tattooed on my back. Nobody else had tattoos.
You took your shirt off every fucking day, no doubt.
I haven't worn one since, but I wore one back then.
Awesome. So how did you come about getting your apprenticeship in Long Island?
It's funny, man. Like, I love tattoos, obviously, like I had a bunch of friends that were tattooed, and my dad was tattooed, my uncles were tattooed, and I just thought they were cool, So one day traveling from Brooklyn to Long Island to go visit an old girlfriend. Her and her sister picked me up from the train station. We went to lunch, and right next to the place that we went to get lunch was a tattoo shop. And I had gotten tattooed there not that long before. I got tattooed there when I was about 17. They tattooed me because I already had tattoos, and I didn't really care about ID that much, you know. So I went in there after we ate lunch. I had a backpack with me, and I had my sketchbook. I'd be writing graffiti like crazy, you know, and I had like a black book full of drawings, graffiti stuff, and I was also really into heavy metal and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, so I was drawing skulls and dragons and stuff like that. And I just went into this shop. It's called Tattoo Lou's of Selden. Lou Rubino, he was been tattooing since 1958. He started in Coney Island.
Yeah.
I walked in and was like, hey, I would love to learn how to tattoo. I got these drawings, and they looked at it and they were like, oh, no shit, kid, you know, like, we actually need somebody. So I was like, wow, you know, like, that's awesome, but I don't have a car, and I live all the way in Brooklyn. I got to get a car. So I hustled, went home, hustled, got made some money, got I think it was like a 1980 Mercury Capri, kind of looked like a
Oh.
body.
Yeah.
A boat.
Yeah, and I called them up about a month later. I was like, hey, this is that kid from Brooklyn. You know, I got a car. I can come in whenever. And they were like, can you come in tomorrow? I was like, I'll be there. So I went in, and yeah, started that day. Like, they showed me how to make needles and, you know, do
Wow.
what they needed me to do at the shop, and got to, you know, I was doing their drawings and stuff. And it was a busy shop, man. Like, especially I started in the summer of '93. And I'd show up at 11 o'clock to open up the shop, and there'd be like 6, 7 people waiting for us to open so that they could, you know, make sure that they got in. We were doing 10, 15 tattoos a day. Each.
Nice. Nice.
Crazy, man. You know, so after
Was that,
about, go ahead.
was that primarily a flash shop? Like, was that primarily the business then?
Shop, walk-in shop, old school style, you know. We did everything with single needle and a 7 Magnum. Wild.
Wow.
Yeah,
Don't waste money on needles.
Sharpening on an old sharpening stone. You know, just pull it back and spin it along, get a nice point, good to go again, man.
Yep.
Wow, different days.
So how long was it before that first day of walking in and learning to make needles that you were putting tattoos on the skin?
It wasn't long, man. You know, it's a combination of two things. You know, I was a cocky kid from Brooklyn that, you know, I was like, what's up, guys? Like, I've been here for a month. Like, how are you doing, you know? And also, they wanted me making the money, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So after, you know, one day, I literally was just like, yo, like, what's up? Like, I've been here for like a month, man. Like, what's going on? Like, when am I going to do this? You know, just.
I can't. You might do that today.
I wish that I could see my face saying that to them right now through their eyes, you know, because they were probably just like, "Sure, kid, all right." But the old man, he said, he's like, "Oh, you ready?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, you know, I've been coming here every day. So he's like, "Well, why don't you call one of your friends and see what you can do?" So I called my cousin. I was like, "Yo, cuz, I've been tattooing all summer, man. I'm doing really good." I was like, "There's nobody in today." I was like, "Why don't you come in? I can give you a free one." He's like, "Free?" He showed up in 15 minutes. I drew up this pot leaf on his calf with some tribal going around it, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I started tattooing it. First couple of lines I made, I wiped it because I drew it on with a big pen, you know. I wiped it. The whole fucking thing was gone. So I look up and he's not paying attention. I just keep going. And he still got it, man. He sent me a picture of it a couple of years ago. It's actually, you know, it's still black. The lines are about a quarter of an inch thick.
Oh my
Which
god!
is amazing, being a single needle.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah, that fine line stuff ages well.
Sideways in the skin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
yeah. Imagine if you were to line
But
that.
then
with
he
a
came
fucking...
back the next day. He came back the next day, and he let me like freehand a dragon on his back. I don't think we ever finished that one.
Holy shit.
So you're doing custom from day one?
I mean, I was always drawing, you know, like I always able to draw pretty, I'm not going to say real good or anything, but I always did my thing with drawing. So I preferred to, even if somebody came with something that they wanted flashed not that long into it, I was like, hey, let me redraw it for you. I'll do it a little bit different. That way it's not the same off the wall, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody really argued that, especially back then. They wanted something different. You know, like these days it's a lot different, but that's a whole other story.
What was the clientele like in Long Island? Like, what were people typically getting? What was like the typical size of a tattoo? Like,
we were doing Taz's like this big, you know, holding a hockey stick, holding a fire hose with a fire. And I did Taz's with everything. You know, we did a lot of like cartoon characters, Snoopy's and stuff like that, Woodstock, and then we had like number 38C on one of the old flash sheets that was just like this little squiggle with a heart in the middle. I did probably 150 of those, you know. Tribal like crazy. That was really the look back then. But I was doing graffiti, you know, so I had this graffiti stuff that I was doing, and I did a few tattoos of the graffiti stuff, and people really liked it, especially because I had like a weird color combination that was just different than what people were used to seeing in tattoos back then. You know?
That's what I remember about your early work when I first discovered it, was that your color combos were like out of this world.
What I did with graffiti, you know, is what made sense to me. So it just kind of stuck, and I just did what I did naturally, and somehow or another people really liked it. But to be honest with you, all I wanted to do was black and gray. I wanted to do scary Paul Booth stuff. He was like my hero.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, the color stuff, just that's what it was, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
I kept doing it.
Is that a Long Island thing compared to New York? Like, New York is dark and scary, and Long Island's got trees.
Yeah, I don't know. I grew up in the city, but I always loved nature. We used to go to Long Island when I was a kid to visit my cousins, and like they had dirt bikes. You know, we'd ride dirt bikes and go play army in the woods. You know. Like,
Yeah.
The only thing we'd do in Brooklyn is like put a piece of cardboard on the corner, and we'd like have like WWF wrestling. Body slam each other on a piece of cardboard.
Totally.
You know, I ride my bicycle around the block, but how many times can you ride it around the block before you see everything there is to see?
Yeah, totally.
When I go to Long Island, we catch snakes and stuff, so I didn't mind going out there to start working.
How long were you at Lou Rubino's for?
I think until 95. Okay. So I stayed there for a while, and I just, I hate to say it, you know, and I feel bad almost, but like I just surpassed what they were doing, you know. They were just a very street shop. That was it, you know. They didn't even care to make appointments. It was, you know, if you make an appointment, do it on your day off, you know, or do it late at night so you do the walk-ins.
Yeah.
And there was another shop not that far away called Lotus Tattoo. They had opened up while I was, you know, while I had already been tattooing. This new shop, Lotus Tattoo, opened up, and it was owned by Siv from Gorilla Biscuits, who you know, I was going to Gorilla Biscuits shows since I was 14. And Joe Capo worked there, and he was doing nice tattoos. You know, he was working for our competition down the road. It was called Cliff's Tattoo, and what a war that was between the two shops. It was hysterical, man. Every Friday night, we'd have to go out, me and the owner's son, Lou. We'd drive around, get drunk, and put bumper stickers over the bumper stickers on all the stop signs. There was layers of bumper stickers.
I worked at a shop in Toronto. They did the same fucking thing at the Tim Hortons at the drive-through. It's probably like this thick with stickers.
Right? That's how it was, man. It was crazy.
Oh my God.
Working at Cliff's, that's where he started, and then you know when Lotus opened up, he went over there. But you know, Joe was the only other guy who I would hear about that was doing cool stuff. You know, I'd see every once in a while somebody would come in with one of his pieces and be like, "Wow, that guy, he's actually really good." So I just went over there, talked to the owner. You know, I had a couple little differences with the guys at the shop at this point. You know, I went over into the other place, and they were like, "Well, if you think you're ready to leave, you know, we'll take you. Everybody likes your work." So I went over there, and that was it. Worked with those guys for about a year. That was a good time. And during that year, I built up a portfolio of a lot of like custom stuff that I was doing. The owner of that shop was so cool. He let us tattoo our friends. You know, he was like, "Go ahead. You want to do something to practice and get your portfolio up? Do it." You know, he didn't care. It wasn't about money at this place. It was about making art, and that was great. So
No
during
doubt.
that time, I learned a lot working with Joe. You know, he was really good at drawing and everything. So I would watch him draw and picked up some tricks from him. And I was going to conventions. You know, it was Richmond and Mad Hatter's Tea Party, which is up in Maine. That was the first convention I ever went to. And I went up to that convention that year, I think I have to say sometime during '95. And I met with Guy. I wanted to get my back started. And I had a portfolio and an old girlfriend that came with me. She had tattoos. She entered a tattoo contest and won. And Tattoo Magazine came up to me and said they wanted to do a feature article, and that happened.
Wow.
It was right before the first Miami Beach Tattoo Tour convention, and I had wrote a letter to Dennis Dwyer. I wanted to get a booth at that show, and I told him, you know, I was getting published in Tattoo Magazine, and I don't remember if the article was out or not at that point yet, but I'd sent him a bunch of photographs. You know, and, he accepted me. You know, he gave me a booth at the show, and in between the convention and when I had first spoken to Dennis about it, I also was looking to get out of New York. And Ken Cameron in South Beach, Miami, somehow I hit him up. I don't remember what prompted it, to be honest with you. But I wrote him a letter, and he gave me a spot over there right before the convention. So I was working in his shop, and then the convention happened, and I met all these people. It was crazy, man. You know, like it was my first convention. I worked at it, and I was busy. And I ended up meeting a few other people around Florida. I left Ken's shop and went to another place in Fort Myers called Pleasures of the Flesh. I was owned by a good friend of mine, Jim Caracco, rest in peace. And yeah, from there, I started getting my back done with Guy, and he and I hit it off pretty well. You know, I went for my first 3-day in a row session, which was freaking mental.
No shit.
So this is how it went when I got my appointment. Like, he told me to meet him at this one convention, and we talk about it. And then I meet him up at this convention. I'm like, "Hey, remember me? I met you at the last convention. You told me to come to this one." We talk about an appointment. So he's like, "Yeah, meet me up in my room later. You know, we'll go over some ideas." So we did that. We talked about what I wanted a little bit, and I really didn't care. I was just like, everything you do is cool, man. It's so different. You know, whatever you feel like you want to do, make it look cool, or biomech looking stuff, whatever you want to call it. So after, you know, I went up to his room, we bullshitted, and he gave me an appointment. I had a nice little savings going. I had a little art book that I had, kept putting money in the back of the book. And I had a few grand saved up, went to Chicago, got tattooed. And Guy and I actually had a lot in common. You know, we're both like into the same kind of music and like similar interests artistically and into like sci-fi and stuff like that, you know. And I got tattooed 3 days in a row. It was nuts.
Jesus.
Yeah, man. I'll never do
That's.
anything else.
Is he heavy or light-handed?
You know, it's not that he's pretty light-handed, I'd say, but the back sucks, man.
Fuck yeah.
I sat for 10 hours before that twice. One time with Paul Booth on my calf, another time for 10 hours with Bernie Luther on my calf. So I was like, no problem, you know. He's like, when we made the appointments, he's like, hey, you know, I've been doing these like 3-day in a row, 2-day in a row kind of things. We'll work it in sections, and he's like, that's how I've been doing all the bigger stuff. I was like, okay, cool. That's how you do it. So, yeah.
So laissez-faire.
Third day, I could still remember like grabbing the doorknob to the shop and being like, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I doing this to myself? But yeah, it went good. I went home, back to Fort Myers. That's where I was working at the time, kind of like home base, you know, because I was traveling a bit, doing guest spots from people that I met at that first convention. And things were rolling, you know. I had this magazine article out, and I had at the time, I didn't know where I was going to be, so I just gave them a 1-800 number that went to a pager.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, wow.
And I swear to God, man, like the morning that magazine hit the newsstands, my pager went off.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy, you know. So I had all these people hit me up from all over the place wanting to get tattooed, invite me to do guest spots, and I did them all, you know.
Fucking, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. You know, I never expected it. I never, ever in my wildest dreams would have thought that I'd be doing all this crazy stuff, especially back then.
I can't believe the foresight you had to get a 1-800 number that went to a pager. Most of us would have fucking skipped a shop, and that shop would have got all those phone calls, be like, "Yeah, you can book. You just come on in and book." You know.
That's the thing. When we did the article and the interview, I was like, "Man, I'm not really sure where I'm going to be. I don't want to leave a phone number that I'm not there anymore." Especially back then. Forget it. They'd never tell anybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he died.
Yeah.
So when I left the first shop,
just like him.
when I left the first shop, you know, and I love these guys. I really do. We get along really great to this day. But when I first left, they had a picture of me up and they were throwing darts at it. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So
wild stories about myself that were absolutely not true, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in that first visit to see Guy. I mean, that's got to be a real seminal thing in your career. You speak real highly of him. What kind of effect did that have on your art and the direction you took?
I saw how like everything that he did was about making art, and I was like, okay, this is what I got to do. At the time, I got to this point where I was doing cool stuff. I was busy. But I was looking at the magazines and I was like, man, there's this Guy dude, there's this Aaron Kane guy, there's Philip Blue, and there's Paul Booth. Like, what is it that these guys, why are they so popular? Why are they in all the magazines? I'm looking at their stuff and like kind of breaking it down a little bit in my young head, trying to think of like how I could emulate that, you know? And I was like, well, what they do doesn't look like anything else, you know? So I was like, I need to stop looking at other tattoos for inspiration. And I just stopped. I stopped buying magazines.
Wow.
I just dove into my imagination and just started doing what felt comfortable, what came natural, and like what I like to see. You know, and I always tell people that like draw the shit that you like to see, because you're at the end of the day you have to impress yourself with making what you make, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the piece of paper and you're working on or canvas or whatever the hell it is, and you like the image, and it's going to rub off, you know, like, and the more you put out there of just yourself, people recognize that, you know, it's not the same thing they're used to seeing. It might not attract everybody, but it will attract a specific kind of person, you know, someone that you could actually relate to. So yeah, I just stopped looking at what everybody else was doing and just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and not in like a, I want to say, an egotistical way, you know, because I still gave my clients whatever they wanted. But I would try and, you know, do a bunch of drawings and show them like, hey, look, I did this. Maybe you want to, you know, take a look at some of these drawings that I've been doing and get something a little different. And just luckily, they were just like, wow, that's crazy. You can really tattoo that? And I'm like, yeah, I could tattoo it better than this, you know?
Yeah.
I think the 90s were ripe for that, right? Like, you know, when the custom stuff started coming out, people were gobbling it up because they'd never fucking seen it. It was just like, holy shit.
It was just what was on the walls. And that's
yeah.
I mean, always, can you do something that's not like what's on the wall? I'm like, yeah, I can.
I can still remember people showing me their tattoos like back then and being like, yeah, he fucking drew it.
Right?
It's like, what? No way, he drew it.
Like, wild, man.
Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, that first trip to guys was mind blowing. It really was. Like it was this little studio in Chicago. There was only him and Kim Say working there at the time. They had a piercer, Mike Leatherman, and like there was nothing in the shop. It was just guys' paintings. At the time, he was painting real big, and there were a few really big paintings in the shop, and it was just like this tiny little space in the back where they just pumped out like the sickest tattoos, like
Oh, so rad.
all of Chicago saw. You know, it was really really cool.
Yeah.
So I went home after that first visit, and I went back to Florida where I was working at this studio, and we were making appointments for my next visit. And I get a call from Guy, and you know, like, hey, the Guy's on the phone. I was like, oh, cool, you know. So I start talking to him. He's like, you know, next time you come, he's like, why don't you see if you could get a few clients together and you know, do a guest spot here. And I was like, no way, really? Like, sick. You serious, you know? So it was no problem. I booked myself up real easy. And he said, you know, he was leaving the shop to go live down in Southern Illinois, but they didn't want to close the shop. And he left the shop to Kim, but they were looking for one other person. And for some reason, they liked me, you know? So it was between me and two other tattooers, two really, really good tattooers.
Who? Name them. Come on.
Tim Biedron.
Oh, nice.
And Grime.
Oh, fuck.
Right. So the thing was, like, you know, Tim was real young and nobody knew who he was. He was still just starting to figure it out. But dude, he was already killer. You know, like I don't know if he ever sucked.
I don't think so. He would disagree with that statement.
Yeah, he definitely would disagree. But...
So I came, I did my guest spot, and they were like, look, we really like you. You have a clientele, and that's something that's really important here. Tim is still a little new, and Grime was in San Francisco and doing his thing. So they were like, you know, like, it seems to make the most sense. We're going to bring you in, and I moved to Chicago.
Oh, amazing.
Man. It was, yeah, it really was.
Yeah, Chicago's always had like a real solid foundation in tattooing. I mean, it's a huge city, but
but you know, the thing that most people don't realize, Chicago then you had to be 21. I'm not sure if it's still like that now, but yeah, you had to be 21 to get tattooed.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, and it was tough, man, because the shop was not advertised. It wasn't really supposed to be a tattoo shop. Like, it didn't say tattoo on it anywhere. So it was tough, man. Like I was starving for a little while there, you know. I doing whatever I could. I was like making hand-drawn flyers and going around the neighborhood and like passing them out and shit, you know. And I did that for a year, and then Kim decided that shop ownership wasn't for her. So I was doing pretty well because I was traveling a bunch, and I just worked out of my apartment for a couple of years after that.
It's crazy.
Home based in Chicago, and I made my money at conventions.
Yeah, you did a lot of conventions.
I did.
Like,
Yeah, I was at every convention that there was. I was at the convention, and that was my bread and butter. You know, I could show up to a convention, set up my booth on Friday morning, and by the time my booth was set up, I was booked for the weekend.
Fuck.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I still have a Guilty and Innocent Productions hand flyer.
Oh, actually, I have a couple of those too in storage, man. I got some of the old cards and a couple of stickers and stuff. Yeah.
Crazy. So how long did you stay around Chicago as your home base then?
I stayed there until 2000. So New Year's Eve 2000, I drove from Chicago.
Were you scared? Were you scared of the Y2K?
No. No, man, my lease was up. And the landlord in my apartment wanted us out because it was like a 3-floor apartment building. And I was on the top floor, and he had already redone the 2 apartments under me, and he was charging like triple what he was charging me. So I think he tried to scare us out, man. Like one morning, me and my girl had gotten home from a guest spot that I was doing in Ohio. And we got home at like 5 o'clock in the morning, went to sleep. And at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, she woke up to somebody breaking through our front door. And we never figured out who it was, but we kind of thought that it was the landlord trying to scare us, because it was just too random for somebody to go all the way up to the top floor of this apartment building.
Yeah.
Randomly, it just didn't make sense, and we knew he wanted us out, So we just took that as like, all right, let's go. And I had this friend in Jersey who had a guy and I had did a bunch of work on. He had a bunch of scar tissue from skin graft. He was in a fire accident. So while I was working on him, this guy had, he was pretty wealthy from the accident. He got, he sued the state of New Jersey. He got a big settlement and stuff. And he was coming, flying me and Guy and Aaron and, to his house and stuff to tattoo him. One time when I was there, he's like, if you ever want to move to Jersey, he's like, I'll open up a shop. He's like, you can run it, you can do whatever you want. So I tried it out, it just didn't work. Jersey wasn't for me. I stayed there for like 6 months. Shop never opened. And from Jersey, I went back to Florida. And I stayed in Florida for a while, 2000 to 2001. And then right when 9/11 happened, I moved back to New York and opened up a shop in Long Island. And,
Crazy.
Just closed that shop last year when I moved here.
Holy cow.
Yeah, because when I started following you again on Instagram, I remember I was like, oh, he's in Long Island. And then it was only when I was communicating with you when I was like, oh, wait, Chattanooga's not a guest spot. That's where he is now.
I tried to live out here in Tennessee, near Chattanooga, where I am now, more rural, about an hour north in the woods, literally. I bought a house in 2005, and it was just tough to make money here. It just wasn't the right time to do what I was trying to do. In the area that I was at, like, I tried to do this thing, and I tell people my hourly rate, which at the time was $150, and they're like, "Wow, my rent's $300." So it just didn't really work. And my old girlfriend at the time, she ended up hating it. We lived in like a really nice, like, ultra modern A-frame style log cabin on 5 acres of mountain territory. It was beautiful.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
But it was just hard to make money. It wasn't the right time. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Neither was she. We had bears scaring us on our property and shit. So we split.
No big deal. Americans are so scared of bears.
Like, wildlife for me was like, rats and cockroaches. Now all of a sudden there's fucking bears on my property. I was not sure how to handle that.
One of the last times I was tent camping, and it was quite a while ago. Middle of the night, it was my girlfriend at the time was like, "I think there's a bear outside," and I'm like, "Shh, just go to sleep." She's like, "No, I think there's a bear." I'm like, "Yeah, it's probably a raccoon or a squirrel." And then you hear a huge like tree branch snap. It's just like,
man.
"That's no fucking raccoon." And I'm like, "Well, what are you gonna do about it?" And I just go back to bed. Wake up in the morning, and there was like a big mud hole like right beside where our tent was set up. And it was us and our roommate, and we had our dogs. Our dogs didn't even bark, but you could see in the morning all the bear prints, and it slept beside us in the mud.
No kidding, really?
And then just left in the morning before we got up. So it's just like,
no thanks.
If it ain't a cougar, I'm not too worried about it. Like black bear, whatever.
I don't know. I've seen a couple bears when I was over there in Vancouver. I was like, this is weird. These are big animals, man.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were in Port Moody for a while.
Yes, I was. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. How did that come about? Like,
oh man, I just started dating Christina Christie.
Oh, okay.
We're traveling back and forth from Brooklyn to Vancouver quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so I moved out there for a while, and
nice. Yeah, I couldn't figure that out for the life of me when I heard about it. I was like, what the fuck is he doing in Vancouver? I mean, Vancouver's great and all, but
Vancouver's beautiful. It really is.
Yeah.
I had a hard time getting clientele there, though, to be honest with you. It was tough, man. Like, I was only doing like 1 or 2 tattoos a week.
Oh, fuck.
It's a very specific clientele and style out there for sure.
Yeah.
You can do black and gray like mountainscapes. You'd be set.
Yeah,
You can
I
do those
actually
all
did a few of those while I was cool. I don't mind doing anything. I work where I am now. I'll do walk-ins, not every day, but whenever I don't have an appointment, there's somebody walks in, they want something, I'm down.
Yeah, absolutely. Tattooing's the job.
That's it.
Yeah. Is this your shop?
No, it's not. It's owned by this guy, Duffy McCormick. Super good dude. It's pretty funny how I ended up working here. I sold my shop in Long Island. I moved here in November last year, and I had a bunch of money saved, and I wanted to just get some paintings done that I had in my head that needed to happen. So I took some time off. I did a few tattoos out of my apartment. Just work in progress, and guys that were flying in or whatever. And finally got to the point after about 6 months where I was like, oh, I need to get back to work. I got to figure out where the hell I'm going to work here, because I had no idea. And I was kind of like hoping I'd see or hear about somebody needing somebody. But the only real reach I had was on Instagram. So I was just following every local tattooer on Instagram, trying to catch wind or whatever was happening. One morning I scroll down and I'm like, oh, shop says help wanted, Chattanooga. I look up the address and it was literally in back of my apartment. There was a parking lot separating the buildings. I was like, oh shit, wow, crazy. So I messaged them, and sure enough, they took a look at what I'm doing, and yeah, we'd love to have you. And they're super great people. I really like them a lot. They're decent folk, hardworking. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
Trip to work is 30 seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Nope.
Yeah, go home for lunch. Go home to take a dump.
Yeah, I love telling people that. I go home and take a crap on my own toilet.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
The older you get, the more you appreciate that.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. And when you were doing a lot of conventions, how many conventions a year do you think you were doing?
Well, there really wasn't that many conventions still. There was one a month or twice a month. But twice a month wasn't every month,
Yeah.
And I was doing everything that there was, especially anything that was put on by friends or whatever. I did all the tattoo tour shows. I did Health City for a bunch of years, from the very first one until, I don't know, probably about the 10th. I did every year. First New York City convention, I did that one until they closed down the Roseland Ballroom. But yeah. I did Tony Olivas' show in Atlanta. Was always a good time. Richmond.
Other than the good time at a convention, what did you get out of it? What kept you going back to conventions? I mean, we enjoy them, but they're also really fucking stressful.
I loved it. It was being in that whirlwind and that chaos and that having to perform right there without having time to think about overnight what I got to draw or whatever. It was right there, And I'd say every tattoo that I did at conventions, those pieces all went into my portfolio.
Rad.
Yeah, it was just the opportunity, people would come up, they'd be like, I got $1,000 to spend, I want you to fill up this space, do your thing. So that's what kept me going. And plus it was family too, we all knew each other. The saddest, it was Sunday night, we'd all be getting ready to leave, we'd start crying, oh, I'll see you guys again, next month, I'll miss you guys, That was our family, Chris Longo was at every convention, and he was, always the announcer or whatever, so he usually got comped a room at whatever hotel it was at for being the announcer, and he would always share his room with me, so me and Chris were a team for a while,
Nice.
Oh, that's incredible. Did you orchestrate guest spots around conventions as well, or were you just in and out,
Usually, I would, sometimes, or I would just stay at the hotel and keep working at the hotel.
Oh, no shit. Fuck, that's smart.
Be overbooked from the convention. Like I'd work the convention floor, and then I would always book another one for my room up after the convention floor was over. I'd go back up to my room and tattoo.
Fuck, so many of you guys were doing that. Like,
yeah, man, that was it. That was my shop, though. You got to understand that.
Yeah.
Time like that was my job. I didn't have to work at it. Like I just did guest spots or.
Yeah, it was like that year, the year that I was in San Francisco. Paco XL
was 97 or 98.
97 or 98. I'm bad with dates, but it was 97, 98. I was, but Paco XL was getting tattooed by Chris Trevino.
Fuck
and
yes.
Like it was like 10 hours on the floor. And then, like, the lights are starting to turn off and they're starting to kick everybody out. And you can see the sadness in Chris's eyes because the thought of him not being able to tattoo anymore. And he just picked everything up and put it in a box because Paco was like, I have a room upstairs. And they just went upstairs and just tattooed all fucking night. I saw them the next day and was like, Paco's leg was so swollen and it was done. 18 hours.
Jesus.
Like, what the fuck, man? It was like, I think Barnaby got his armpit done by Guy that year in the hotel room.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the space shrimp.
Yeah.
Wow. It was crazy.
See, that was another thing that kept me going back to the conventions was we would, after the convention floor was done, we'd all go back to somebody's room and tattoo. So it was like the after convention, there was a couple of nights where it was like me, Guy, Paul Booth, and Joe Capo were all tattooing in the same room, And then when we were done doing that, we'd go to everybody else's room who was still tattooing and go hang out.
Yeah.
Fuck, I did it wrong. I would be fucking in bed by 10 o'clock every night. Like, yeah, I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
I would wake up about 5 minutes before the convention would start, splash off in the shower real quick, run downstairs, get right to it again, and that was it.
Yeah.
Well, that was the difference too. They used to have conventions in hotels. Like now, it's like at some fucking big convention center, and the hotels are like 20 minutes away.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's totally different.
And then you get stuck in some of these convention centers. You have to eat only the food that they have available. Like, man, I can't eat 3 pretzels a day. I'm sorry.
Not gonna shit for a week after a weekend of convention food.
Yeah.
So plugged up.
We did 3 conventions this year? We did 3 and 4. So the last one that we did had like food trucks inside, and the concession was pretty good. But
the burger at the concession was incredible.
Amazing. Like,
it was it was fucking great.
We're in Alberta, right? So you go to the concession and they have like fucking grade A sirloin beef burgers for $8. Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, like usually it's like, I remember the worst convention concession was actually Green Bay, Wisconsin in like 95. And it was like frozen crinkle cut French fries and fucking gloppy gravy. Just the worst, It's like not even warm. It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not good. Yeah. So,
are you the only choices were a bad burger, a bad hot dog, and some fries or a pretzel? It's like, we're here for 3 days. You gotta offer something else.
Are you doing many conventions still? Are you doing many guest spots still?
Not really, honestly. No, I've done a few conventions in the last few years where I literally sat there and did nothing.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Unfortunately, see that.
It is because I'm usually the first one working and the last one they're closing around me on Sunday, and all of a sudden, a bunch of years later, I didn't do a few conventions.
But it's funny. Like when we were younger, we'd go to convention, you'd see old guys, and they wouldn't be working. Like they wouldn't even go and get a booth. They would just walk around, and you'd be like, "Why wouldn't they be fucking be working?" But this is exactly it, Like
you're the old guy now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it though. That's the thing.
Yeah. It's like we were in the Okanagan at a convention, and we're beside BJ Betts, and it's like he's sitting around, and then there's a person across the way doing script tattoos. It's like
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, right. Like
right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, that's usually how I'd end up getting the tattoo at a convention now. Somebody would be like, "Do you realize that this guy's not tattooing?" And they'd be like, "Feel bad for him or something."
The pity tattoo. How many pity tattoos do you have?
But I did a convention for the first one since all the COVID stuff. I just went to Ohio. This guy Tony Urban puts on a nice show up there. It was a good time. And yeah, I'm going to do that one again in July. He's doing it again, so I'm going to go there. But other than that, not really so much conventions. It's like it's hard to guarantee that you're going to actually even break even.
Yeah.
100%. And travels, it's just so much more expensive also.
Fuck, it's
the whole
totally.
you know, I used to literally go to a convention and I'd make like $5-6 grand.
Yeah.
You know, that paid my bills for the month. It was perfect. You know, now I don't know if I'm going to even make a few $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's like
commit to it, and knowing that, you know, I'm going to leave home where I am going to work.
Yeah. Well, that's
where I might get to do something. And if I knew it was going to be like a few really cool tattoos, it'd be great. But these days, you get people that come up to you, they got like a $500 budget and they got their thing already planned out. And it's like, okay, well.
Yeah. And you're starting to see a lot of like little pre-drawn stuff with like new tattooers, and it's like $80.
Yeah. So I never did anything like that.
Why are you doing $80 tattoos at a convention?
Because they got to make money, right? Like they're desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a couple.
That's the kind of stuff you do at home.
Yeah. Totally. For your own community. Don't burn the town you're in, right? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious. What's the process like to get tattooed by Jon Clue these days? Like, what is?
My book is like a month. You know.
No, but what's the creative process? Client comes in, talks to you, wants to get a tattoo. Are they coming in with ideas? Are they coming in for stuff you've already drawn? Like, what's that look like?
Rarely do I get people like post some drawings on, you know, my Instagram story or whatever. The shop will post them. Rarely do people will come and ask for those. You know, I don't ever really do my drawings that look like it's a tattoo though. Like I always have to fill the whole page, you know. So I just can't just draw like one thing on a piece of paper. It's like I have to make an environment, you know. So people see some of them and be like, "Oh, I really like that. Can you do something like that?" But for the most part, it's just, you know, I get a message, they see my work or whatever, and they tell me what they want, and I do whatever. I've been doing all kinds of stuff that I've never done before.
Like what?
I got a sleeve going on. It's like this crazy fairy fantasy land with like waterfalls in the background and mushrooms everywhere. It's cool, man. I love it. You know, it's actually one of my favorite sleeves that I've done in a while.
Oh, that's rad.
It's probably pushing you creatively because it's different than what you normally do. So it probably is.
No, it used to be do your thing, man. I'm not going to tell you what to do, you know. And I'd be like, okay, well, then I default to this. You know, you're either going to get a snake on a branch, a frog on a branch, or you're going to get crazy space explosive shit. You know?
For people listening that may not be familiar with your work, describe what your work looks like to them.
I don't know, psychedelic puke maybe. No, I've been, you know, I'm really inspired by reptiles. I've been keeping reptiles since I was a little kid. I've bred all kinds of species of snakes and frogs and lizards and stuff. So that influence has always crept into my work. I like style. So there's always going to be some little angles and stuff like that from the graffiti days. And I'm a space nerd, you know, so there's always some sort of cosmic something in the background. And there was a time in my career where I was heavily influenced by psychedelic drugs. I'm not afraid to say it. I did a lot of acid. I ate a lot of mushrooms. And yeah, that stuff all crept into the.
You definitely don't look like a guy that would do that.
Yeah, it seemed to me self-evident. I was expecting a tie-dye banner behind you.
Mostly black. This is tie-dye.
Oh, fuck.
So when you were in the heydays of the 90s and stuff, did you travel to Europe much? Did you get out of
Not really much to Europe in the 90s. No, I went to Japan a bunch, though.
Oh, cool.
In Osaka, in Kyoto, and Yokohama. I worked with Chige there a few times.
Cool.
Europe I didn't go until 10 years ago. The first time I went to Europe. I went just on vacation to go see heavy metal shows.
Nice. It's great to go on vacation, isn't it?
Yeah, dude, it was the first time I ever went somewhere without tattoo gear.
It's great.
And the first time I didn't have an income as I was away.
It's nice, eh?
The money just disappeared out the account, you know? It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Especially in Norway, because it's not cheap there.
Yeah, but you see so much, right? Like you actually get to have your head up and your eyes open, right? Like absorb. It's
so exciting. It was so cool. I spent 10 days there and it blew my head off.
Amazing.
I backpacked through Eastern Europe in 2000. And it was so weird. It was 10 years of tattooing, and then all of a sudden it was like months of not tattooing.
Right.
I went into one shop in Prague, and I popped into one little shop in Berlin. But other than that, I just had a great time fucking exploring. It was kind of
cool.
And then it was again, 10 years of tattooing with no breaks.
Yeah.
I've been a huge proponent of travel without tattooing. I think it's so fucking great to take a break and just absorb the world,
I agree. I'd love to do more of it, but it's so hard to say no. It's like wherever you go, there's somebody going to be there. They want to get tattooed. It's like most of the trips that I've made have been like because there's been people I wanted to get tattooed. It's like, all right, cool, I'll go check it out, and I'll make some money while I'm there.
I think the secret is, someone told me this a few years ago, and I need to start doing this, is you book your trips to when there's a convention in that city.
Yeah.
And then you go and work a day, and you write off your whole fucking trip. Write off your airfare, write off all your expenses, and spend a week in that town or that.
I really need to go to. I really want to go to Poland really bad.
Oh, cool. Why Poland?
There's a painter from Poland, Zdzisław Beksinski, by far my favorite painter.
Oh, cool.
They got a museum there in Krakow that's dedicated to his work. He passed away about 10 or 15 years ago.
Say the name again. It's not Stanislaw Zukowski, is it?
No. Zdzisław.
Okay.
Tough one to pronounce. And
yeah.
It's Beksinski.
Okay.
He's done some of the darkest, scariest, well-painted, and so prolific. He's done, I don't even know how many paintings he's done. I thought I saw them all, and I keep seeing new ones still.
Wow.
Yeah, he was amazing, man.
Book a ticket. Go.
Yeah. Well, I have to get to Sicily. That's where my family's all from, Palermo, Sicily. And I'd like to go and visit Sicily. And
I didn't know.
The catacombs.
I didn't know Clue was an Italian name.
Oh, it's not. It's funny. People ask me all the time, like, "What are you? Like, what's Clue?" And I was like, "Clue's Brooklyn."
Was that your writing name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My legal last name is Bashatsky. 10 letters. I'm so thankful that I didn't put that on a business card. And it was that first magazine article. Whoever was interviewing me, her name was Michelle Delio, and at some point during the interview, which was done over the telephone, she was like, "What do you want me to put for your name?" And I was like, "Oh, well, everybody calls me Clue." She's like, "That's perfect." She's like, "Your last name is way too long." She's like, "We're gonna put Jon Clue," and that was it. It just stuck.
Fuck.
Because like before that, like my friends all called me Clue, from writing graffiti. Nobody ever really referred to me as John because there was like 5 Johns on my block,
Yeah.
So.
That's so crazy. You had so much synchronicity early in your career, like from your apprenticeship, like it's crazy how your career went.
Some
people would say it was a horseshoe up your ass.
It was so. It was just this was what the universe set for me to do,
Yeah.
And I just rode along with it, and I still fucking love what I do, man. It's been 30 years. It's crazy to even think that.
We interview a lot of people, and the overwhelming similarity is that people struggled and fought to get into tattooing. And this is kind of the first story I think we've heard where it was just so much.
Just happened.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's great. Like.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't have it any other way. Like everything worked out the way it was, I guess, meant to. And
yeah.
fucking
Yeah,
love it, man.
I tripped into it too. Like, I worked hard in the early years, but like the people that I got to like meet and work with were definitely a much higher caliber, to the point where it was kind of like, why are they letting me around?
Yeah, that's how I
You
felt
know,
when I first started hanging out with Guy. I was like, all of a sudden, now I'm like in this upper echelon of the tattoo
Yeah.
world. Like, wow, this is weird, Like, how did I get here? But, I was young enough to where I wasn't like second guessing any of it. I was just like, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
Like I had
Same.
a lot of energy, and there was no stopping. I was like, this is my ticket out of Brooklyn.
Yeah. I think it's a testament to your personality, though. Like, you're obviously a likable person, and obviously Guy and Kim and everyone else, open those doors because of who you are, right? Like, if you're some dick full of himself, it would be different.
Thank God. I mean, I feel like back then I was so full of myself, but I guess I was still humble enough. I listened to what I was told, or like I wasn't like an asshole to people, But I thought I was a lot better than I was back then, man. Sometimes I look at that old stuff and I'm just like, how did anybody do this?
Yeah. Hey,
Why didn't somebody pat me on the back and be like, hey?
But if
Guy was really good at reeling it in, man. Guy would always be like, if I showed him something I wasn't sure about it, he'd be like, this is what's wrong, fix this, do this, and I'd be like, damn, yeah, how did I not see that,
Yeah.
I'd go redraw it 10 more times, show him, be like, yeah, that's good. He's like, thank God you fixed that, because you almost tattooed that on somebody, and I'd be like, yeah. Like,
but,
even
you have to have that confidence to put tattoos on people, right?
You really do.
And there's that's the balance of the fine line of having like being egotistical, but also just having the a big enough personality and confidence to put the tattoo on people,
Yes.
And I think it's, as long as it's the people that are unwilling to learn or grow, that's the real problem, right? So you're clearly putting yourself in a position and listening. So that's why you could keep walking through these doors and stuff, because it was like, yeah, this guy's a rad tattooer, and he listens. If he does something wrong, he improves, right? So
yeah.
You're clearly bringing something to the table.
Yeah, totally.
One of the things, though, back then, like, it didn't matter what I did. It was like everybody loved it anyway, and I always felt like who's being honest here, And it got to the point where I had to be honest with myself and look at some of it and be like, man, I really need to improve, And it really happened sometime around like 10-ish years ago, when Instagram really started to get bigger, because I didn't get onto Instagram for a while. I skipped it. I wasn't interested. And I started looking and seeing like all these new fucking things where I'm just like, wow. Like, this is crazy, Like,
yeah.
And then you realize like a lot of it's not even real. A lot of it's edited and all this stuff, but even that stuff, it's like, well, I have to live up to these expectations somehow. So I have to elevate my skill level to the highest that these hands can possibly do just to keep up,
Yeah.
And so it's that stuff has kept me on my toes, and then like just being honest with myself and being like, am I spending enough time on these drawings, like.
I think that's huge. Shawn was my mentor. That's how I got into tattooing. And one of the first lessons he passed on that I still tell other people, younger artists, is that don't buy the bullshit that your artists or your clients tell you. They're always going to be your biggest fans, but they don't know fuck all. Right. And you see that in tattooing so often, that people just, they think they're good because their clients tell them that, it's.
No, you gotta be honest with yourself, man. You gotta like really like step back and look at your work, and let all the like filters and all the ego go, and just be like, man, these lines suck. Look at these shapes, don't work with these shapes. Why did I do that? Like I really need to like spend more time. Like now I do my drawings. I do it I never really did this before, but I do my drawings like a week before. And then the night before, I go through it and I rip it apart and I redo it like 3 or 4 more times the night before. So that way I'm really familiar with it the next day when I got to actually tattoo it. and I don't have so much to think about, but I still don't like to have anything finished drawing-wise because I still like a little nuance when I'm actually doing the tattoo, you know?
Are you doing full color renderings?
What's that?
Are you doing color renderings beforehand, or are you?
Yeah, sometimes as elaborate as I can, as time allows for, and sometimes I'll just quickly just block in a few shapes, like this is going to be this color, this is going to be this color, that's going to be my highlight, you know?
Our good friend Rob says that a stencil is just a suggestion. Would you fall in that line?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I used to do so much freehand stuff, and it didn't matter, you know. Like I felt that way, you know. Like the stencil, the guideline, the drawing, whatever. It's just a suggestion. That's a really good way to put it. But now I make my stencil. I make every line so clear and concise that I want that stencil to go on perfect. I don't want to have to like even guess or think, and I do all that beforehand, you know. And I do all the like creative stuff with the rendering. Because now I'm just so focused on I want every line to count, you know. I want every line has to describe this shape a certain way, and it has to be as clean as a whistle because it goes on the gram. And if there's a little blippity in that line, like, you know, everybody's gonna be like, "What the fuck? What are you losing it?" You know. Look at all these tattoos now. Every line is so perfect. It's like, man. You could get away with so much more years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like you look at old magazines and like old books, and you look at guys that were the top, and you look at line work, and it's like, oh
yeah, I know.
But you also move it away from you, and you're like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. But now because it's the gram, it's all close up. Like it can't just be composition perfect. It just has to be technically perfect, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine too, you know. It's okay.
Totally.
I just have to work harder, and that's okay. I'm okay with that, you know.
Yeah, it's perfect for me because I was always more of a technician than an artist. So it's that plays into my hand.
I'll admit I was the opposite, you know. Like my technical skills were good, you know. I made clean, nice tattoos. They always healed really good. But now I'm like, man, I have to really be both. I can't fudge it with just by making it dazzling with color, which was real easy to do back in the day. You know, just dazzle with 100 colors. Nobody's ever seen nothing like it.
Now real nice highlight, low lights.
Yeah, now everything has to be like perfect, man.
Yeah.
Fine though, it's on somebody's skin. Why shouldn't it be? You know, it should be the best that these hands can do.
Yeah.
So, we're like almost ending 2023. Like, what's going to be happening? What's big for 2024 for Jon Clue?
Just keep tattooing, man. You know, hopefully get some bigger projects in. Like I've got a bunch of cool stuff that I started since I've been working here. Clientele is rapidly increasing, which is good. I'm getting more interest in what I do with the locals and stuff. And
that's
I'd
rad.
like to go back home a bit and go work on some pre-existing stuff up home. It's been a little bit since I've been there, and I'd like to get back out, do some traveling, hit a few different countries again. You know, it's been a while since I've been overseas. I have to get back to Japan. I really miss Japan a lot. Got good friends there. And definitely hands down my favorite place in the world.
Where?
Japan, Osaka.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It's amazing.
Cool. Yeah, I've never been. Dave's been. I've never been.
Dude, just if you ever get the opportunity, don't hesitate. Just go. It's a game changer.
I bet.
Yeah.
All right, man. Dave, you want to do the honors?
Yeah, John. This is the most stressful question we ask. Top 5 favorite tattooers.
Of what time period?
You only get 5. You can slice it up any way you want, but there's 5.
And it's such a tough one, you know, because there's so many tattooers whose work I really love. But I mean, first and foremost, I'll always have to say Guy. He's done so much for me and like inspiration. Marcus Pacheco.
Yeah.
Another one who's hands down one of my heroes, and Aaron Kane too. That only leaves 2 more.
I know, it's so hard. I love this question. It's so great. I love the stress that it induces in artists. They're just like, holy fuck.
Artists who really like inspired me. And I have to say, Bernie Luther's another one. When he was coming to the States from Europe, like what he was doing was so different. You know, it was like he did that European look.
Yeah.
So
Actually,
Bernie,
it's funny you say Bernie Luther. I was just looking at like 96, 97 Bernie Luther Flash yesterday also. And
good stuff, man.
So crazy.
For a guy that was so prolific and inspired so many people, it's a shame that there isn't any kind of document out there to show like a tome of his work or anything like that. It's
He just put out a big book.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's on Instagram. He's
Oh,
posting
fuck.
regularly too. But he just put out a big book. I gotta order it. I keep meaning to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm searching it right now.
How many?
Man, I got stories about Bernie for days. I hung out with him quite a bit. That guy rules, man.
Yeah, I've never heard a bad story about him.
Yeah.
So that's 4. Is that 4?
Four, yeah. 1 more, huh?
One more.
Shit, yeah. Look at that.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, his stuff is so.
I feel like a tie between like Philip and Paul.
Paul Jeffries or Paul Booth? Paul Booth.
Yeah, Paul Booth.
Yeah.
He was really like the first guy who I was just like, I want to be like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time that back piece that he did was published.
The one that he did on his old girlfriend Barbara with the demon. Yeah, dude. That was exactly. It was just like, wow. Yep.
Yeah.
That shit was crazy. Yeah. Paul Jeffries, another one. Like, I was so bummed that the whole time I was in Canada, I didn't get to meet him.
Oh, dude, he's the best.
He really is, man. His flash was on the walls in every shop that I worked in the beginning, and like those drawings were the best. Like out of all the flash drawings, like those drawings were so damn good. Like he could really illustrate, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of the other flash, like you could see the difference in somebody who really understood what he was drawing. And yeah, I did a lot of his flash sheets back in the day. They were.
He needs to re-release all that flash.
Why not?
I have copies of it, but like they're so old and everything now. Like if he was to redo like on good paper, like through River Valley Printing or something.
Oh my God!
I would absolutely buy those and hang them in my shop.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was, and he was like a legend to us. You know, I was in New York, and there was this guy Paul Jeffries from Canada that was just, you know, everybody had his flash, and it was so good.
Yeah.
There was only a few sets where it was like, man, these guys are really good artists, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have a lot of garbage. a lot of stuff that I thought was amazing.
Right.
But also there was a lot of garbage. Actually, I have right beside me. Do you remember the Mind Meld set?
Oh, I do remember that name. Who did that flash sheet? Who did that?
I think
it was a bunch of different artists, right?
So yeah, it was the Temple Dudes. It was the Eddie Deutsch Temple Dudes
that was
set. I have it sitting right beside me actually because I'm like using it. I want to do a bunch of kind of like rip-offs, redos or whatever. And I'm just looking through it. It's like, you know, old Frank, he did the Devil Ladies. Frank
Carleo? Carleo?
No, like Frank Miller. Frank. It'll come to me tomorrow. Then there's like Scott McEwen's in there and Eddie Deutsch and like all the Texas
Eddie Deutsch
guys.
Is an hour and a half away from me up in Nashville. I found out recently, and I gotta go get tattooed by him. He's another one of my heroes, man. You know, like
yeah. So we're gonna have
hear about him
soon.
tattooing. We used to hear about him tattooing in Long Island. He used to come visit Long Island, and there was every once in a while you'd see one. You know, and it was
amazing.
Christ, man. But here's a little secret that nobody knows about, and I wasn't told not to tell anybody. But being that he's in Nashville, Guy Aitchison is in Southern Illinois. It's really not that far. It's like a 5-hour drive. They've been hanging out, and they got a secret flash set that they're going to redo.
No way.
Guy and Eddie set that they did years ago. I guess it was like 93, 94.
Yeah.
They've been going back and forth, and they got something in the works.
Perfect, because I just saw Eddie.
Cool as hell, man.
You can get one of his old sets redone and re-released, and I'm just the same. I'm like, I want that set. I have that. Yeah. So he was just in Calgary. So I was just texting with him. That's actually what I needed to talk to you about, Dave. So I'll do it off air, but we need to figure out a time for him. He wants to do it right away.
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I was like, hey man, we're like looking at like February. He's like, I'm ready right now.
I'll definitely look forward to watching that.
Sweet.
Awesome. Tell us a good Bernie story.
Shit, man.
Did you get to travel with him or anything, or did you work?
No, I didn't get to travel with him, but I got to hang out with him for a week at Chris Longo's house. He came from Austria, did a guest spot at Chris, because Chris used to host artists at his house. He would just book them up. And he had a lot of friends that all got tattooed, and I would go to Chris's house and work for like 3 days straight,
Amazing.
Yeah, so Bernie was there, and we ate like literally like an ounce of mushrooms. Days. And he made me tattoo him. And Bernie was never known to be like like cleanliness. He was like a European, like stinky armpits kind of dude. But
European hippie.
So I tattooed him on his knee, like the side of his knee. I did like a psychedelic snail, like all like geometric and shit, And like 5 days later, he's still wearing the same leather pants on top of it. I was like, "Oh, Bernie, you should wash that thing," And he's like, "Oh, let me take a look." He pulls his pants off, and it had like green fuzz growing. So he was there with his friend Luca, and they both were wearing the same clothes the whole time they were there. So Chris's wife Dee, was like, "Oh, guys, like, you gonna ever change your clothes?" So they just looked at each other
and changed clothes. Oh my God.
Hey, man, yeah.
Amazing.
Chris was like, "Man, I hope you guys fucking didn't switch drawers too, Like, what the fuck?"
Would it have made a difference, really?
Probably not.
But so many tattooers were just weird and quirky that way.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you should change. Okay, I'll just go switch clothes.
I can just imagine them laughing and giggling in the room like, this will get them.
They came out, looked at each other with the biggest smiles on their faces.
It's just, last time I was in Montreal, it's definitely not the same because I changed every day. But every single day I was in Montreal, every single day I wore a T-shirt specifically from my one friend's shop. So by day 3, he finally clicks in, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Every single day, he's just like, "What is happening?" I'm just like, "Well, I don't understand what you're doing."
Awesome.
He's like, "Has this been a different shirt of mine every day?" I'm just like, "Yeah." He's just like, "You're fucking weird."
I'm in support. Awesome. Like that's a friend, man.
Yeah, man. I only brought your shirts to Montreal. Like, you're fucked.
Whose shirt was it?
Dave C. from Point St. Charles, PSC Tattoo. Dave Cummings, yeah.
Yeah, I could have guessed that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just always fucking with everybody. So. But yeah, awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out and doing this with us, John. It's been great.
Thanks for asking me. It's like,
of course, man.
I'm appreciative of being able to tell some of the story.
It's been great.
It's been a fucking whirlwind of a ride. I'm just happy to still be on it.
Oh man.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
Dancing Goat Tattoo, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
And your Instagram is
just Jon Clue, JONCLUE.
There's only one Jon Clue.
There's actually not.
Okay.
There's actually not. There's somebody in England that tattoos under the moniker Tattoos by Clue. There's a J Clue on Facebook that I found. I just randomly scrolled across it and sent him a message. I was like, hey, we must be long lost cousins. Turns out he's like a deep sea underwater photographer, and he takes incredible pictures. We've been Facebook buddies for like 10 years now.
Oh, amazing.
That's fucking hilarious.
Awesome.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Awesome. Cool, man.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Of course, man. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And,
You as well.
Let me know when you post this up anywhere.
It'll be up.
It'll be
Myself.
up on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
It'll be up on Sunday.
Right on. Cool.
We'll tag the fuck out of you.
Yeah, I'll repost it as well.
Awesome.
All right,
Cool,
guys.
man.
Thanks again.
Okay. Take
See
care.
you all later. Bye.
Bye. The True North Strong Tattoo Book. This is a massive tattoo encyclopedia of Canadian tattooers. 350 pages. It's an 11 by 17 coffee table format. Shawn and Dan worked tirelessly to get this thing out, and sadly it never made it to print, so it's available for free download at theholdfastsocialclub.com and championtattoo.ca.